Ladies and gentlemen, here's Frankly Fabulous! How's everybody doing out there? Happy New Year. Doing a special bathroom episode today. I've always thought the bathroom is the most aesthetically pleasing room in the house. Uh-oh. Did I destroy the, there goes the fan. Okay, now everything's working. The most aesthetically pleasing room in the house. So I thought maybe I'll do my monologue here. And then, well, I guess the whole thing's a monologue, so I don't know. Is that acoustic? Are those acoustics bad? Shit, how did I just turn that fan off? There we go. Okay, sweet. Oh my God, I don't even know what's on the agenda for today. I feel like I should have some jokes, some monologue material written, or God, I gotta have this jacket hemmed in. See, I want it to fit like that. It's kind of big at this point, but see. So what's in the news today? Coronavirus. Well, it's the second show of 2020. I did want to talk a little bit about the Bitter Retribution show. It was a little too savage, I feel. It was fairly brutal. I feel like, to just get right into it, a lot of the things that I was saying were very similar to just the narrative that every fucking, like, formerly middle class white person has now, which is they took our jobs. It's essentially the same complaint. Is and for me, there's no sense that I was passed over or anything like that because of Trump or because I'm a white male or anything like that. Whatever my failures are, and they are plenty. I don't know. Maybe I just fetishize that. Maybe I fetish being from Ohio. I think that's a big part of being from Ohio. The Cleveland Browns are the toilet bowl of the universe. I mean, they're called the Browns for Christ's sake. Like, do I wish I was more successful? Yes. It's a common point of contention on this show, common point of grievance. And here, maybe I'm going to move into this other setup just because I think the lighting's probably better. And I can kind of sit down and focus a little bit. I don't know. That's not as good of a shot, maybe. I hope everybody had a good New Year's Eve or whatever the fuck day it is. I guess it's the second already. Good New Year's Day. In lockdown, in house arrest. I feel like I'm in minimum security prison. I know you can't really make, obviously this is not like being in prison at all, but it does feel like being in a minimum security prison. Like the grounds, the place I'm at feels like a minimum, there's like a fucking keypad to get in. You can walk down by the river, feed the ducks, but you can't see anybody. You can't go anywhere. You don't have a car. You're inside 23 hours a day or whatever. It's white collar prison, I mean, the food's not total slop or anything. It's pretty good. But it's the same thing over and over again. And you're not eating in a restaurant. At least I'm not. I mean, what was going on when I made that video, the bitter retribution video, was, I mean, I ran out of weed for one thing, so I was sober, oddly enough. That was one of the few videos I made when I've been not high. And it was probably the most incriminating video I've made by far because, I mean, it's not like I don't. It was just about voicing like the kind of most unacceptable position that I feel probably some, truth about from my own personal situation. But at the same time, everything I said was kind of moot because these changes are more important than anything that I was saying. Whatever grievance there may be about, let me switch the lighting up here because I want to. Shit. Sorry, I'm trying to get this fucking thing to charge, and it's one of these weird bathroom outlets where there's like a reset button in the middle. Okay, it's not working. Oh well, we'll figure it out. It's moot because the changes are better than anything that I was fucking talking about. The fact that things are becoming more diverse, and that is obviously the future, and it's more important, and it's great. It's more beautiful. It was a very limited spectrum, and it was fucking greedy, selfish white guys, entitled white guys who were doing that. And I think there is an insularity and a kind of feist. There always has been. The way that guys are afraid of women or afraid of this, or they make fun of people who are, so there is this kind of insularity with beta male, or I don't know, incel kind of, and I don't feel like one of those people at all, but I do feel somewhat, maybe not adjacent, but next to it. Some of my, a lot of my friends from high school were kind of, what's that game? Not Dota. What was the game before Dota? Not StarCraft, but there's a game that's like that. Maybe it is Dota. Counter-Strike, they were like headset online gaming. That's where a lot of this fucking racist kind of troll edgelord, culture comes from. The taking it's a kind of confused masculinity, taking confidence in power and enthusiasm for yourself from the idea of like antagonizing people, saying what you're not supposed to say. And of course, those things are very obvious because our culture is sort of delineated in like, what you can say, what you can't say, what you're supposed to say. That's more what's frustrating about it to me. I mean, clearly these conversations are long overdue, and it's better to just listen. So in that sense, my own whatever bookability as a performer writer is it's not that it's voluntary, but it's also just like, okay, it's easy to sort of let that pass by because you're just like, well, other people should get these slots. I don't want to be the white cis guy that's like putting myself out in front of everything necessarily, or taking, airtime away from somebody, who deserves it more. They're speaking from, I don't want to be. They're speaking from a different experience, and I don't want to be like a spokesperson, even though a lot of the things that I've written in my own, I don't know, has been on. I don't like that culture, and I think it's gross, and I try to stay away from it. The kind of web-based edge lord, spurg lord, video, online gaming. Like I said, Counter Strike, Dota, South Park, Monster Energy Drink, Complex, Access. I try to stay away from that, and that's not who I am. But, growing up in suburban America, that's what most of the dudes I knew were like. But the worlds that I feel more of an affinity with, and the places that I've actually felt a home, theater or writing, those worlds are not nearly as dominated, at least on the levels I was at, college theater. Most of the plays I did in college and most of the people I was with in the program were not straight cis white males. They were all, they were everybody. And writing, it's the same thing, especially poetry. I mean, if you're even interested in poetry, most people make fun of you for being, effeminate or whatever. And so that's frustrating too. This is a world where you feel harbor, you feel like it's different than the typical brutal masculine sports, like I said, all the shit I mentioned before, where it's just kind of dominance and like being a dominant person is not a great, especially as a guy, to be like super overstepping your own territory and being sort of oblivious to other people's considerations. A lot of that behavior is looked on as being like alpha or being stronger than, the social mores that hold the kind of beta males down or back or whatever. So a lot of the guys that I've met who were alpha or were attractive, they had no, like Trump, they had no sense of boundaries. And, like Trump said about the virus, you have to dominate it. He wants to dominate everything. Don't let the virus dominate you. And he goes in and it's just like, okay, he lost the election clearly, but he has no sense that he doesn't need any kind of legal reason to fight it or contest it. He just does it anyway because that's super alpha. That's super. If he could make it, a lot of this world, particularly probably for the epoch of the patriarchy that we've been living through, like whatever you could get away with in physical dominance was, if it worked, like then it was the law. It was the fact, like 100 years, up until 100, 200 years ago, like if a woman got raped and got pregnant, she'd probably have to have the fucking baby. Like that's pretty insane. And think about that. Thousands and thousands of years of genetics. 2,000 years ago, if a woman got raped in a war when they're sacking the fucking city or whatever, and she got pregnant, that was part of their strategy. The armies that would go in, if they'd win, they'd want to impregnate all the fucking women because that was a way of colonizing. And so the genetics, it's like, not to get too hot or too controversial or anything, but like it was a surprise to me when one of my earliest girlfriends who I had like a sexual relationship with, she wanted to be choked and she really wanted to be had sex with from behind with her hair being pulled. And it's like, why does this woman like being like rough? Like to me, I always wanted to like make love and like be loving and passionate and whatever. And so to have it was eye opening to me that my partner wanted to be choked. And I don't know, maybe there is no science. I think that I've heard, and this is not a good thing, but like, you know, like I said, if a woman got raped or something and impregnated, they'd probably have to have the baby. That means a lot of our fucking DNA has gotten. And I just wonder why women are so attracted to these guys that are just like, they don't have any boundaries. They are the kind of cavemen in a way. Maybe that's a little too broad or cartoonish, but like getting fucked from behind and having your hair pulled, it's like that's probably what was happening to these women when they were getting raped. Oh my god, if that last video got me canceled, this is going to get me extremely canceled. But why are they into this? Why are they into getting choked? Why are they into getting their hair pulled? Why are they into guys that treat them like shit? Why are they into guys that already have a bunch of attention and a bunch of I just think that probably, the ultimate goal of of all life is to survive and proliferate. So, like, I'm not advocating for this, and certainly it's good that we're beyond this, and we are definitely working beyond this now. But it does seem to be an embedded thing in our genetic that, like, and I'm not saying that it was non-consensual, and but these women, if you have sex with somebody against their will and you impregnate them and they have a child, that is procreating, and maybe and like all I'm saying is that in the genetic, whether we like it or not, I don't know why it works this way. I wish it didn't, like I wish that women found something else attractive. I wish whatever my natural personality traits were just like irresistible to women, but they're not. Women are into guys who are 6 feet tall, who are who don't want them, or who are indifferent to them or emotion. They want sociopaths. They want guys that are emotionally non-reactive to them. I mean, hopefully these dynamics are changing, and hopefully the DNA will reorient. So like, it doesn't have to be this way. We don't need force to procreate. It's not 5,000 or 2000 BC or whatever the fuck it was when that shit was happening. The Trojan War, or Genghis Khan, supposedly one out of every 9 people in Asia has got Genghis Khan's DNA. Like, that's imperialism. If you're taking over the world, then controlling procreative patterns who has babies with who and how. That's a big part of it. That's a population control, I think, is a big part of government, and that is how the whole capitalist patriarchy thing works. Is you create a labor force for yourself, and you're the king, and they are subjects to you. You're the alpha, you're the tribe leader, and they're serfs, they're workers, they're subjugated. Hopefully we'll get out of that. I think we're all subject to that in our current system, capitalism, where there are capitalists who have the capital, and there are labor class who are the people who are owned by them, essentially. That's a very master slave, alpha, beta, dominant male. I mean, Trump is the most dastardly fucked example of that. I don't know. This is based on things I've observed firsthand, seen what I've seen works, what I've seen doesn't work. I mean, I guess when it comes to questions of my own success or failure, in New York, it was just easy to be involved. So I don't know. My impression of it was if I just kept doing stuff, then I get good and eventually, succeed and become established. Maybe I was thinking maybe this year I'll focus more on like publishing. Maybe I'll write things and send them out like with more of rather than just being like, well, I'm an artist and I do it my way and I don't give a fuck if these people publish me or if anybody likes it. It's like, this is my vision. This is my process. This is my I don't know. I mean, I've been kind of telling myself this shit my whole life. Literally since I was fucking 18 or whatever, I'd make a list every year of my goals and it'd be like, I want to make a movie. I want to send it to film festivals. I want to, and it's like, I never actually really did that. The best that I could do was what I did. And it took me a long time to get there, where I could just do my own magazine, have my own events, have my TV show, and just fucking do it my way. I mean, watching the marathon yesterday was very inspirational as far as video stuff goes, because there was just so much awesome, innovative video content and technique. And I mean, a lot of it is technological. That is one reason why I turned to poetry stuff, because I just got a fucking computer that I could do video, and literally my Final Cut expires in like a couple days. So, it's, as always, it's a question of money and technology and equipment and not having resources, being from a person of poverty, being a person from poverty, and just the shame of that. And, it's it's easy to have fucking scarcity mindset when you grow up in scarcity. There's a reason why. Like, it's kind of fucked up that all these people, shame you for being in scarcity mindset. It's like, I don't know. The guy today was saying, make a plan. And I'm trying to. It's hard to make a fucking plan because we don't know what we're going into or what's going to happen. I mean, my plan was to move into this fucking apartment in New York and take it from there. And even that is just being, I mean, even that is just being like it's not happening easily. I'm not getting any like breaks. It's not like, oh yes, it's approved and I'm in. It's like, oh God, here's another fucking setback with this. So, if that doesn't work out, then it's literally back to the fucking drawing board. And it's just hard to actually really get anything going that like this is the best I can do really at this point, because I just don't have stability or space to work from. So it's like the fact that I've even been able to get the things done at the end of the year that I was, if we want to do 2020 year in review, I mean, it was a hard fought year, that's for sure. And I'd say personally, you could maybe look at it like I maybe came out even, which for 2020 is not bad, but also like, like it was good. Like, hopefully there's only 18 days till fucking Trump is out of our fucking lives and out of our faces. He's already started to disappear from the media, which is awesome to some degree. He's already started to disappear a little bit. But, I mean, I do have money. Trump's gone. And I was able to do some cool video shit. I feel like I got my show sort of going again. I'm back on TV. I did write a good amount of stuff. I wrote my novel, my 1,000-page live stream novel, which is another, it's another project, obviously, like all this stuff that means something to me and almost nobody else. So how much significance does it have actually? I mean, I'm not, and there was plenty of fucking awful shit too. I mean, the show at Beyond Baroque was great. Going to California was great. And it, we survived. That was kind of the key, is if we could just fucking survive, that was the goal. So in that sense, we're doing good, but I haven't performed live in almost a year. It was literally Valentine's Day, I think, was the last show, or one of them anyway. And, this, just having growth stunted, who knows what kind of permanent fucking effects this is going to have, and just having no friends, having lost contact with basically my whole world, except through this extremely weird, pinched, and just, it's getting old. The fucking Zoom thing, and I mean, I like doing this, but I probably do need to figure out some other better way of spending huge amounts of time. Like if I spent this time actually writing a book, or I mean, I just haven't had facility to do that so far. So I don't know. I feel like I probably could have gotten a lot more done. I mean, if this situation had hit and I had been in my own apartment, and or even in the sludge or whatever, it's like, who knows what I could have accomplished through it. And I don't feel that way. I feel very hidden. I feel like I fell down a well or something this year. I literally feel like I'm just like sunk 100 feet under the ground, and I can see the world and communicate with people through like this little hole, like yelling up at hey, how are you? Get me the fuck out of here. We're working. We're going to get you out. The vaccine's coming. Who knows how long we're going to be down this well, but it feels like a huge waste of time for me, and a lost year, certainly. I mean, the people that I admire and the world that I want to be a part of, they've all figured out ways to sort of keep doing what they were doing before, doing readings, living in New York, organizing their series. I mean, all of that stuff is on hold for me. Like I've become Mr. YouTube. Maybe that should be my my nickname. Frankly Fabulous, Mr. YouTube. And this is not. I mean, I don't have anything to fucking film, man. Like, I can't even go out onto the streets and like interview people or anything because it's just like there is just none of that here. There's no, and I'm just scared of everybody. Basically, I'm scared. I don't really want to be close to anybody, or I've tried to be a little bit cool about that, but mostly for me, the people in this area are so nuts about the fucking pandemic and how they don't take it seriously at all. I mean, even when I went over to my brother's house for Christmas, or if I go over to my dad's house, it's like they're not wearing masks. Like, I'll put my mask on and social distance, and they look at me like I'm nuts. It's like, we are taking a chance doing this. Like even meeting with two people in your family, like you are taking a chance. Like people want to kind of ignore that fact, but I don't really want to be around people that are fucking nuts about it and who act like it's no big deal. So I don't know. It's especially, I'm trying not to dwell on it because I did have kind of an outburst last week because of the holidays. I talked about it on here probably, but my schedule just got changed around a bunch and my sleep got disrupted and I ran out of weed and so like I was going through withdrawal and headache and cranky anger and just like smoking this much for better. I mean, it does make you more, I soak up the sense of failure a lot more. And that is one thing that I think is unhealthy, is just like because of the nature of the situation that I'm in and being down the well or whatever, Instagram, Twitter, all of this shit has taken on some kind of huge importance for me. So it's like if somebody doesn't like my fucking thing or, then I fuck them. I mean, although to be fair, it's just easy. And like a lot of my friends who think they're my good friends or whatever, to be honest, they're just not very good friends. Like, I support what a lot of people do. I'm very generous with my likes. I'm always liking stuff. I'm liking stuff of people I don't even know. And people don't return the favor. And if they don't return the favor, I mean, fuck them. Like if I support what you do and you don't support what I do seriously, then fuck you. Like I don't need you in my fucking life. And I do have people that support me and like what I do. And I don't know. It is like an ego, like you're counting every little follower and every little like that's the place we're in, I feel. That's the place I'm in. If I had fans, if I had validation, if I had that, if I was getting compensated for my work in that way, I wouldn't be so nitpicky about it. But when I literally have, 10 to 15 people to maybe 20 who sincerely claim that they care about what I do, and then they are not actually watching what I'm putting out or reading, and then fuck them. Especially if they've got tons of fucking followers and tons of adulation themselves, because that's the least they could do. They need to understand that I'm in a place that's lesser. I don't have what they have. So they should fucking support me. Even if what I do is bad or something they don't like, they should support it anyway because they get the validation. They get the support, you know? Even if I'm a jerk, even if I'm putting out bad vibes, they should support it anyway because they've got to understand. Look at what happened to me this year. You know, like cut me some fucking slack. Like I don't have a spouse. I'm not in a cool fucking city, you know, with all my friends and okay, you know, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I have no time to myself. I got to watch Johnny Carson fucking reruns all day because I can't get any time alone. And I can't seriously work on anything. You know, I don't really ask for anything from people. I don't rely on people emotionally. And so they probably think I'm just sort of confident, boundless, whatever. But the only reason I'm able to do this at all is because I don't pay any attention to the results. And I'm committed to doing it. Like, regardless. But it wasn't always that way for me. And it's not like I've been helped along by teachers and professors and people working me into that world through mutual support, you know, nobody likes any fucking thing I do. And it's better than anything they're doing. They just don't get it. What other excuse could I have? I could work harder. I could be less angry, less egotistical, less narcissistic, less selfish. So, all this shit has just been building up. And plus, it's the holidays. And also because I was editing that goddamn footage of fucking California. And it was just putting me in a real bad headspace, reliving all that. I had to walk away from it. I was almost done. And I haven't been able to work on it for over a week because it just puts me in way too bad of a headspace, you know? And so I kind of yelled at my mom and because she didn't really seem like she cared, you know, I went into it. She seemed like she didn't really care if she saw us on fucking Christmas and like she's obsessed with her fucking boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. So I felt bad about that, and I've been trying to like kind of, you know, make up for that ever since I bought her flowers. Cause I mean, she is the one person that has been there for me this year. I mean, literally, she's practically the only person I even fucking see, you know? And then, you know, I was over at my brother's house for whatever, probably his birthday, I think. And I told him that I had yelled at, you know, I kind of blown up at mom, thinking he was maybe going to be sympathetic because, you know, he probably felt bad that I didn't realize she had visited him on the Sunday after Christmas. I didn't know that she had done that. She'd stopped over at his house for like an hour or something to do the gift. So like she made an effort. It wasn't really fair for me to blow up in that way. It was just a lot of frustration and a lifetime. It was a lifetime's buildup, to be honest, of just like hostility and unspoken things. You know, being somebody's kid or whatever. And just my nature, it's just like, I think it's my mom's nature too, to just sort of like, You just take things. You just take things. Like you don't think you can, or you don't think you can talk back, or you keep looking for the right opportunity to talk back, and you just never, you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings by saying, hey, we don't like your fucking husband or whatever, or hey, maybe you shouldn't date that guy. You don't, it's none of your business. It's their life. They have to make the fucking mistakes or do whatever they're going to do. But my brother kind of hit me with basically just how I've been. What he was saying was not fair either, because he was saying our family is disintegrating because nobody sees each other. And it's like, dude, there's a fucking pandemic. Nobody's seeing anybody because it's dangerous. It's like, it's not like we're just not seeing each other because we don't fucking care. And then he started giving me a bunch of shit because he was telling me basically that my mom had complained to him a bunch of times about how she needed her apartment back and how she wanted me out of here. And so, this is just Jack's value system. He's very much like my mom. He's looking at me and he's thinking, you're a 35-year-old man. What the fuck are you doing? Like, you're not paying her any rent. Like, and then he gave me shit because I didn't put gas in her car. Like, first of all, I don't hardly ever drive her car. I literally drive it maybe 20 miles every fucking month or something, like I don't ever drive anywhere. And if she wanted, like literally every time I drive the car, it's on full. Maybe there's 3/4 or half a tank. And I literally drive it to my dad's house and back. It's not like I'm driving around. I don't go anywhere. And if she wanted me to put gas in it, I would put gas in it. But I just figured I should have. It occurred to me. It definitely occurred to me. I thought, oh, I should probably put gas in the car. But for whatever reason, I just didn't do it. He knew about this. And it's like, the thing about rent is she understands that if she were, first of all, she doesn't need the money. They sold their house a few years ago and she has plenty of money. She does not need the money at all. If she wanted rent, we could discuss that. I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but like she understands that it's not, it's, if she charges me money, I will go bankrupt sooner, potentially, if and when I get out of this situation and get my own place. And then I'll have to come right back, so I'll be right back where I started. The money is more valuable for me to have it going forward so I don't end up back here. So she understands that. For her to just charge me $500 a month or whatever to live here would be like, it would give her money she doesn't really need, and like I just go broke, and then I'd really be fucked. I'm not. He's had menial labor jobs kind of his whole life, and he was back to work in May or something, April. He was like trying his job in the restaurant. He got fired or he quit last year because of his manager or whatever. And they asked him to come back after the pandemic because they couldn't get anybody else to do it. And of course he went and did it because he's all these people are totally psycho about meaningless work ethic, going and earning a living and all of this shit. And it's just a waste of fucking time and energy. I mean, I appreciate if that's what he wants to do. If that's what he wants to do with his life, then so be it. And I'm not trying to mooch off anybody. My point to him was the only fucking reason I'm even here is because there's a goddamn pandemic. If there wasn't a pandemic, believe me, I would not have lived in mom's fucking spare room for the last 9 months. Like, I'm trying to get the fuck out of here. And I have been for a while. Like, so I don't know. It kind of made all of that, him putting all that in my ear kind of made me feel like, oh my God, like I'm just this huge burden on mom and she wants me out of here. And, you know, I feel bad that like I am like this gross middle-aged loafing occupier of her apartment and she can't enjoy it or anything. Like, there's a pandemic. That's what he didn't really, that's the disconnect, is he didn't really think that was a reasonable I mean, he's just mad because, to be honest, I've been at his house a bunch of times this year. We've played golf together. I've probably seen him as much this year as I have any of the last few years, certainly. And like, I fucking house sat for him in September, and they weren't grateful for that at all. You know, we played golf a number of times. I've been out to his house for fucking mom's birthday. I've been out to his house just to visit. We went out there for Thanksgiving and fucking his birthday. Like, I don't have a goddamn car. You know, I invited him. I was like, hey, if you want to swing by on your way home from work on New Year's, because I didn't want to go to his place, just because it's like, there's a curfew. It's the West Side. You know, when I was out there the other day, he was like, there's all these shootings. He said, like, there's tons of shootings in his neighborhood. It's like, dude, that's not good. Like, that's not like some innocuous fact. It's like, you're living here. You know, I don't really want to go to that place. There's a curfew at 10 p.m. on New Year's Eve with, I mean, his partner is a COVID nurse. She's literally testing people all day to see if they have fucking coronavirus. He works in a restaurant. He was working that day. He worked till 7 p.m. It's like, dude, I don't want to get a ride with you when it's going to snow and sleep on a fucking couch with your dog. You know, I slept over at his place on his birthday, and it was like I didn't sleep at all because of the dog, and just because it's a weird, the air is weird because they have central heat, so it's just circulating the air. Here it's steam. You know, the air quality here is very good. I go to my dad's or I go to Jackson. It's like just nasty, man. The air is just like, it's like breathing the inside of a vacuum cleaner or something. And it's like, you know, maybe that sounds like it's no big deal to you, but like, how am I going to get back here? You know, I mean, I'm not going to have anything to eat. Like, I'm taking this stuff seriously, and it's not like I don't want to see people. I wish that it was just no big deal. I wish, first of all, he doesn't live that close. It's way the fuck out on the West Side. Nobody I know lives anywhere near there. And like, if he lived in fucking even German Village where he lived before, or Grandview, it's like, it's not that hard to get there. Where he lives now, it's like, it's way off the freeway. It's a half-hour drive, and it's not a good neighborhood. Like, his house is nice. I like going to visit, but New Year's Eve where a bunch of people are shooting guns and shit, like, I was on the West Side for New Year's, I think in high school. Me and Tommy and Brian Dennis or somebody, we went to some fucking house like in the Bottoms with all these like gnarly ass like fucking mall core goth metal people, but like white trash, fat, middle, you know, teenagers. It was weird. And at midnight, people were literally shooting their guns into the air. It's like, I don't want to be around that, you know, especially not this year. Like, and I'm not trying to blow him off, but like, he doesn't realize what we have done, and he's not making any effort. You know, he could stop by here and say hello. He doesn't want to do that. It's like, I don't want to go way out of my way to do that this year. Like, this year, if we have to fucking stay home, that's what we're fucking doing, and I'm fine with that, you know? So, you know, I came back thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, you know, my mom wants me out of here and is pissed that I've been here for 9.5 months, and probably was thinking I was, you know, in Jack's head, it's like I should have gotten an apartment and a job in July or something. Like, that's just stupid. Like, I'm lucky to be, it would be insane to get a job right now because, and this is the way it should be, the government is paying you to stay home. That's what they should be doing for everybody. Like, I'm not going to go to get a job and make less money and put myself at risk. I don't think anybody should have to do that. I don't think I'm special. I don't think he should be doing that. I mean, if he wants to go work on pianos or whatever, or his other job, that's one thing. But working in a restaurant, making 30% of the money you made before is just stupid. Like, pay these fucking people to stay home. And subsidize it with fucking all the money Bezos and Zuckerberg and all these cocksuckers made during the pandemic. They increased their wealth by like $1 trillion. It's like, there clearly should be, hey, these guys are making a lot. These people are losing a lot. We should probably take some of this and give it to them. That's what I would do with my children. If one of my kids had a fucking way too much food and the other one was starving, you want to help everybody. Like, so I don't know. I wrote my mom a note just saying, hey, like, sorry, I've been here this long. Like, I'll be out of your hair soon. I was supposed to move into this fucking apartment January 1st. Now I'm not sure what the deal is. And I don't know if I can talk about it online because I think the realtors are stalking the fucking dude. They mentioned some real weird shit in their letter about his personal, things they probably saw on social media. So I don't know if they're watching this or you don't want to get into trouble with the lawyers or anything. But my mom was like, so I wrote her this note saying, hey, I'm sorry. And she was just like, no, not at all. Like, you haven't been a burden. You can stay as long as you want. She understands. Like, that's literally what she told me. So, I mean, maybe it's one of these cases where, like, that's what she knows she has to say to be nice or be a good person or whatever. Like, she's not going to kick me out. But maybe secretly she's like, God damn, when is this kid going to get out of here? But, I mean, I appreciate it. Like, she saved my ass. I don't know. Looking back, I'm not sure if there would have been a better thing to do with the last year or half year or whatever than this. It's not really even worth talking about, I suppose, at this point because it's already done. I mean, in my head, I really want this apartment to work out, and like everything in my life, it probably won't. And it does feel like just some stupid joke to just like fucking dangle something in my face and then remove it or have me lose it in some kind of like awesomely ironic, poetic, heart-wrenching way. That seems to be what happens to me typically. I'm not really the kind of person that like seals the deal with some kind of super triumph. Usually the triumphs I have are some kind of like joke situation where it's like the wrestling or, even performing with Sarah and stuff. It's like, and how that ended up. It's like, if I actually had healthy manifesting or wishes or whatever, people would just respect me for the earnesty and integrity of my work. And I feel like, I've just kind of shot myself in the foot a lot by trying to do the right thing in sort of a cynical, outer directed way. It really feels frustrating to be 35 years old and have absolutely no leg to stand on as far as like employment, stature, having a place to live, you know, having a nice apartment, even having a city that I feel secure, like I will, I mean, maybe New York has always been that way, but it just feels like, I mean, obviously you slip up a little bit and you're just out of there. Like being 35 years old, I mean, think about where people were at this age 50 or 100 years ago. By the time you're 35, your career, you'd be halfway through it, if not more. You'd probably have at least 3 kids. They'd probably be fucking almost 10 years old or something, maybe even older. Like, you'd probably have a house, a car. You'd be able to fucking go on vacations, have book published, have a TV show, have a movie career, have a fucking I mean, part of it is just like the things that I'm interested in doing. The sense is that it's impossible to even make a living wage. Being a poet is not a job, really. I mean, that's kind of what's amazing about how a lot of these people have turned it into like a somewhat lucrative celebrity-ish, low-key influencer job. I'd say that a number of these poets that I know in New York City make 6 figures easily, easily, or at least tens of thousands of dollars to be professors, to have their book published, to I don't know, write for magazines or whatever the fuck. I mean, I would say a lot of them make 6 figures. Like, part of my conception of what being a poet was it was like impossible to make money. And that was part of what was good about it. That was part of what was honorable about it. Now I see all these poets that are like, have job security, are traveling, are fucking all over the world doing readings. They can afford to buy like fucking sneaker collection or artwork, or it's like, that to me feels kind of antithetical or hypocritical. I know that's just my own adolescent viewpoint. I'm going to try this here. Let me try this real fast. How does this look? That's too conceptual, maybe. I just need to stand up for a minute. I've sitting on that toilet bowl for that long is not typical. So maybe I'll get a new angle here. I don't know. I don't like it being that low. Fuck. I kind of have to sit if it's going to be that low. And it is about how good you are, but it's also just about, with poetry, it's all about who vouches for you, who blurbs you, who's your mentor, who introduces you to who. Being outside that system and having no talent and being, this 3 strikes, I don't know. I don't just want to bitch about my lack of success necessarily constantly on this. Let's try it like this, maybe. Oh, maybe I'll read some shit. We'll see how this goes. These are my pamphlets. Well, this was from 2019. These are both from 2019. Maybe I'll read. This is my my newest. This is from October. So it's been a couple months since I've even really been writing a whole lot. High on Life. So I make these pamphlets, or I was making them. I do make them. Every couple months, I try to put together a small collection of writings from my notebooks. So, they've got dates, and then, they're chronological, more or less. So it's like a movie. It's like the montage. It's like the thought montage of beech trees. So this is from like May to the end of July of the pandemic. So this was when I was kind of getting lost in Consipung. Opposite street parking. This was written December 2019 when we were living in that place in Bushwick. Over a year ago at this point. St. Nicholas Avenue, the apartment from hell, the last place we lived before it just spewed us out. And I had to move the car because they have the opposite side parking where it's alternating. Monday and Thursday and Tuesday and Friday, they street sweep. So I wrote a bunch of these while I was waiting for the hour and a half or whatever to be up, and so I could move the car back. This is when I was with Sarah. So this is what I would do for her. I would get up in the morning and move the fucking car. And I'd write while I was in the car. I wrote a bunch of those. So that's Opposite Street Parking. This is Posterity Zoo. This is around the same time. It's about that horrible wavetable gig we played in that basement. That was a perfect example of what I'm talking about. We had this gig. It was one of the last wavetable gigs we will probably ever play. And it was a crime how underseen that band was. Because we were the best band in New York. I hate to say it, but we were the best band in the world. Like, there's no question. We revolutionized music. Like, we absolutely invented the future of music. And we never really got to, like, fully make that clear to the audience. When we were on Dabs in the Basement, it was very apparent. But going out and playing at these gigs where nobody was at, so we had this gig at this place called Bohemian Grove, which was a lot like the Slooge, actually. It looked the color scheme, it was in a basement, but it was in Bushwick. I think it was off the J train. It was off Bushwick Avenue, I think. And it was just like, some hipster fuckfaces had a collective, and they themselves weren't that interesting, but their space was dope. They had all these church pews, and the basement was just this long, unfinished, but with cool brickwork and bars and weird furniture and mirrors and all the same kind of ambiance. So we were supposed to play this place, right? And it was we didn't really have that much luck getting the gigs that we deserved. Every gig we'd play, it was like some rock venue that we wouldn't really fit in, or it was some gig that I booked and there was just like nobody there. So this gig was actually like, all right, we finally got a gig that's like in a cool sort of experimental venue and a good location. It was packed. There was 100 fucking people there, and it wasn't really clear where we were supposed to play in the order, but like we got there before anybody. We got there early. We were there at like 7:15 or I don't remember. The show was supposed to start at maybe 9 or I don't remember 8. But we were just like real laid back. Yeah, we'll just play, we'll go on, we'll know. And the place is gradually filling up, and my friend James from Poetry Project was there. Just randomly, it's like, oh, hey, dude, it was like there was a lot of people, and it was like, all right, finally somebody's gonna fucking see Wavetable and But the weird thing was there were like no doors on it, or like they keep the doors open, and it was cold. It was like December, last year. But we're thinking, okay, at least finally cool people. Like James is there. James is like hip. He's at the Poetry Project. He works at the school bookstore, and he's into noise. Like, okay, this is a hip audience. People are gonna see this. And this first guy goes, and he's just this fucking lame ass dude with all these fucking guitar pedals, and he plays forever. He literally played for like an hour or something. It's like, this shit sucks, And for whatever reason, we didn't want to go next, or we were just kind of chilling because we didn't, we were nervous basically. So we weren't like, okay, now it's our turn. And it wasn't clear. The people there didn't tell us like, you're second, you're third, you're fourth. So the second band plays, and the thing is, they took so long that, I think it was like there was some band that like jumped up. I think they just jumped up. There was this band that was like, they had some album coming out, or they literally, like I said, we had gotten to this party early. So after the guitar guy finishes, this band just like jumps up there. And it's like they act like, I think it was their record came out. So it was like they act like it's their record release or something. And so they play for, 45 minutes or whatever. So now it's us and this other band are thinking, because it's getting cold. It's like it's the middle of December. There's no doors, and it's like it's getting cold. So us and the other band, after this band is done, we're like, we're getting up there and we're fucking playing next. And so after this band is done, literally there's this scene where both bands are trying to set up at the same time on different sides of the stage. And so we're both kind of setting our shit up kind of passive aggressively at the other, like neither one of us is going to back down. Like, we're playing next. We are playing where there's fucking people here. We're not waiting any longer. Like, these bands, that band shouldn't even have fucking played. Like, they just jumped up. They got there late, and they just jumped up and started playing immediately. And so we're up there and we're like, we're fucking playing. And I forget what happened, but the other band was like the headliner or whatever. So, or they booked it or something. I don't know. So we lost out basically. So they went on at like, I don't know, 12 or 12:30 or something late for New York, because all the bands are done by 12. And it was their show. So literally they play, and they played long because it's their fucking show, and like they've been waiting. And by the time they're done, everybody thinks the show is over. So literally everybody leaves. Everybody left. So we had been sitting in the cold for like 5-6 hours waiting to fucking play, and we thought finally we're going to get a cool gig. And like, we played a lot of cool gigs. There were never really any people there, hardly. And we never really crushed it necessarily like we could have. I'd like to believe that we just like carpet bombed the place so much that like enough people were exposed to what we were doing that people will remember, like, yeah, that fucking band, that was crazy. We saw them at Pete's Candy Store or whatever, Muchmore's, or, we played a lot of gigs, even though we never got in front of 200 people like we should. So literally we go on at like 1 a.m. It's freezing cold in this place, and there's nobody there. I mean, like, it was just such an ugly. I was like bitching out the guy that booked it. I was like, God damn it! Like, how can you fucking, have us on this? Like, now we get to go on and there's nobody. Like, Jesus Christ! So literally we're playing, and he's the only person there. Everybody had left because it was cold and the show was over. So we played a 20-minute set to nobody, and it was awesome because we were all pissed. But, dude, I mean, just like, that's the story of my life, man. Seriously. Like, every fucking time something like that happens. And I just felt terrible. It was like these dudes brought their equipment out to play, and we waited here all night and we got so fucked on this. And our band is going to break up in a couple weeks because we're going to California. And then it was extra frustrating to go to California, and every night Sarah is playing with these other bands, which are not very interesting and very kind of generic and like just doing shit other people have done. And there's 100, 200 people every fucking night. We couldn't get a gig in front of anybody. So this poem, Posterity Zoo, that's what that's about. Posterity Zoo. Worst gig ever. Like transcontinental flight. Bad turbulence and useless complaint. Bitch out the manager, and 4 hours later, a 20-minute band practice. Head cold in a meat locker, and literally nobody there. I mean, our band did not deserve that. None of this shit deserves that. So that's kind of my process. Worst gig ever. It felt like we were on a flight to like France or something. It felt like, oh my God, like I woke up early, I had to go through security, it's cold, I'm getting a sinus headache. Like I had to bitch out this fucking guy who booked us because it was just like, we sat here all night and we got so fucked. And it didn't matter. Like it did not matter. Complaining, there was nothing that could be done. So 4 hours later, a 20-minute brand practice, head cold in a meat locker, and literally nobody there. That's the Posterity Zoo. That is frankly fabulous. Mr. YouTube, once again, I'm in the Posterity Zoo right now with 0 viewers and 0 likes and 0. I mean, I guess maybe we're just manifesting it. Maybe we're just manifesting it with our, that's the other mystery to me. Is like, okay, if I'm manifesting this because of some low self-esteem or some kind of shit Ohio philosophy point of view where you just worship being a loser and worship, because you don't want to win because winning is like egotistical or brutal or barbaric. It's sort of, I don't know, it is like flattening other people. Oh God. I think what you said about taking time between like if you look at these on the page, they're like thought bubbles. That's my idea. I mean, maybe not this book, like this. These stanzas, to me, they're like thought bubbles. So a lot of times when I read, I just read fast. And the idea is I read fast, and then whatever you get. Whatever catches your ear. It's sort of a noise rock streaming, you're just constantly, that's what this is. I mean, that's what I'm doing right now. There's not really a whole lot of pause in this. I'm afraid to pause. I feel like if I pause, I'm going to lose people. There's nobody to lose. High on life. Which was not true. I mean, I was definitely high on drugs at this time. I mean, by drugs, I mean weed. Whenever I say drugs, the only thing I'm ever talking about is weed. I'm never talking about anything else. So maybe, should I read some High on Life? Have I read this? I think I read this one. July 29th, taking the easy way out. That's my philosophy. Take the easy way out. That's probably why I'm here on this toilet, live streaming. 35 years old to no one in the middle of a fucking pandemic in my mom's house because I take the easy way out. And that's where it gets you, right here. See, that's my room. It's all trashed. It was trashed when I got here. You know, I only kind of maintained the disarray. Laziness is totally a viable option. I mean, that's what I said on July 29th. I said laziness is a totally viable option. Taking the easy way out. That's where I was at July 29th. So this book is sort of a chronicle of my heartbreak and going to New York. When I came back from that trip to New York, I had this burst of. I was watching the Roth show, so a lot of these poems have Roth, direct quotes from Roth. The Walmart of Rain. That's something Roth said. He said, I don't know, somewhere in Indonesia or something was like the Walmart of rain because they have all these different types of rain. They have, like in Forrest Gump when he's talking about all the rain and shit, thick rain and upside down rain and sideways rain and misty rain and hot rain. And it's the Walmart of rain. He's a poet. I mean, Roth is a poet. There's no question. He's a master. Self-fulfilling prophecy. My dad said that. And he's great at coming up with these. He's a little more, I don't know, crowd-pleasing or effective. Like self-fulfilling prophecy is a phrase. He says these phrases. Every time I hang out with him, he'll say a phrase that, like, you've forgotten about, but you're like, oh, yeah. That's so, like, the other day he said slush fund. He said Trump, all of his trying to stop the election. It's a slush fund. He's creating a slush fund with all these donations. I thought slush fund. It's kind of part of it is it's a normal term. Like in normal land, you hear this term slush fund. But for me, I'm always trying to create something that's not, like self-fulfilling prophecy is a well-known phrase, but it's an effective phrase. Me, I'm trying to create something like a little bit more skewed than that. I'm trying to take the thing that is well-known and kind of like slant it a little bit, slant it and enchant it, like Further Studies in Cleveland, for instance, or Faceless Auto, or, Faceless Auto. I'm trying to create, what else do I have? Holy USA, Filth History, self-fulfilling prophecy is a trope. It is a, and you immediately know what it is. So I think he said something about, how something with Trump. A lot of it is self-fulfilling prophecy, he'll kind of say like the wall or whatever. He'll say we're building it and whatever. Mexico's going to pay for it and everybody, or even the end of days. I think that's what we were talking about. Probably Israel, how Israel's a self-fulfilling prophecy and what Christians believe. If we get all the Jews back to Israel, then Jesus will come back and, that could be viewed as a self-fulfilling prophecy because they made it up. So on the one hand, I was thinking, oh God, like they're making this happen, as was prophesied. And Dad was saying, well, okay, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy then, because they fucking made it up. Not everybody believes that. I think the world is sort of a struggle between bodies masses of people manifesting things. So I think you have the Christians who are they do believe this. They are manifesting this. This is their reality. So it is real because that's what our universe is, supposedly, what we imagine.
So I wonder why I'm stuck in this failure thing. Why is this the story I want to tell for myself? Is it because I'm a masochist and a Christ figure? I think the crucifixion, I think, is a metaphor for adulthood. I know that I felt like I got crucified when I turned 33. It does feel like you're climbing up into this really uncomfortable ordeal that you don't want to go through. That suffering, every joyful participation in the sufferings of the world. So I think the Christian people are manifesting their sick, dark, twisted sex fantasy or whatever. And then the rest of us who believe in science, that's our fantasy, I guess. Faith in science, different parts of the brain, different. So self-fulfilling prophecy, the old path iced over, a feeling that went shut. I'm not sure why I included that. I don't know. This is a long book. This is my longest pamphlet by far. I think it's 40 pages, which the fact that I can even print this out and staple it and send me your address and I will gladly mail you my pamphlets, my literature. I want to distribute them to people, but I don't have any, audience. So I think that was about maybe, well, it was definitely about my relationship. And it resonates with a poem that I wrote in Spokane about they went ice skating in the road. Because at Sarah's family's house, originally they just built a basement. And there was something where they lived in the basement for the first year. And it's so cold there in the winters that it froze over. So they were like in the ground. And the idea that the ice is like this thing that kind of freezes over and patches over. It's almost like a scab, or maybe the way that this was also the river down here. This summer I was constantly. So this is me coming out of. Well, it's ironic because it's the end of July, a very hot part of year. It's about ice. So it's hearkening back, but it's also, like I said, it's coming out of this pamphlet, Beach Trees. This is my Washington Beach Bum pamphlet, where I was really moondogging it up and smoking tons of weed, and it was 5 o'clock everywhere. And just walking around the beach, And what I meant by beach trees, I don't know. I couldn't really come up with the right title. I meant more like maple trees that are on a beach, because this fucking river down here, even though it's Ohio and it's a river, it's a hillbilly ass muddy river, there's still a beach. There's still like sand. And so I felt like I was kind of on the Buckeye Beach this year and Macho Man Randy Savaging it up. And I saw the movie The Beach Bum and I wanted to make my version about the Washington Beach Bum, because I am that guy. By no fault of my own. I've never, in no way, shape, or form was I patterning myself off of Moondog. I think that movie, it's one of those things. A lot of these movies I see, I'm like, oh my God, this is the exact situation I'm in right now. Am I hallucinating this movie? Literally, am I manifesting this? Am I like writing and directing this movie right now? Or is this what the Matrix is? Is the Ouroboros of my own imagination and experience, like projecting, like this is the dream life. So that was Party Pamphlet. And now High on Life, end of July, coming out of that into when it was dawning on me what was happening with my ex at this point. So this is me going on a drunk, and it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's dark, but it's like just kind of drowning in my own tears, as it were. Uh, the old path iced over, feeling that wind shut. There you go. So that's where I was at in that place. I mean, I do think it helps if I explain everything. Then maybe people will like the explanation is probably more fun than the actual piece. And maybe it is like a Cliff's Notes or a, should I do Cliff's Notes to my own? That'd be kind of funny. Proctor on Proctor, explaining my own work so you can better understand it. You have to get the NIV Study Bible so you can better understand what Jesus meant. Okay, there's a lot of Jesus in all this, not on purpose. I'm surrounded by Jesus. A way to go somewhere. A way to go somewhere. That's what the title is. So this page, it's got three. I think of these books as like galleries. And the poems are like, they're all like different walls of the gallery. So this one has got three small little pieces. And they weren't necessarily written on that day. The day is just there to kind of set the yardage, and then okay, so then you got August 1st. So, this is a couple days. I want that. It's like a calendar of thought. And the idea is you read it and there is a sense of time passing and a season passing, just like the show, just like with my TV show. These are like little clips. This is as if I take out my notebook and I write something down almost as if it were Instagram and I'm taking a picture of it, So these are little social media posts in a way, or they're little episodes in my TV show. They're a reality show, but it's converted into language art, That's what they called it when I was in elementary school, the language arts. It's a handy term, language art. So a way to go somewhere. Tired of this dirty old sidewalk. Me and the wine in the city lights. So that's just two songs put together. Tired of this dirty old sidewalk is from Big City Turn Me Loose, Set Me Free by Merle Haggard. And then Me and the Wine in the City Lights is a song, I think, by this guy Lee. What's his name? Lee Hazelton or Lee? Not Lee Harwood. Let me look it up real fast. Me and the Wine in the City Lights, which I discovered, it's country and it's a great song. And it's exactly how I feel. Yeah, Lee Hazelwood. Walking around High Street, Dick's Den, it's all boarded up. I'm smoking weed. I'm trying to get out of this big city. Turn Me Loose, Set Me Free is all about get me out of the city, get me into the country. That's kind of the poem is called A Way to Go Somewhere. So I'm just trying to get out of this claustrophobic quarantine. Tired of this dirty old sidewalk. Me and the Wine and the City Lights. City Lights is the Charlie Chaplin movie. It's the Lawrence Ferlinghetti Bookstore Press. It's so Me and the Wine and the City Lights. I've ordered a lot of those books this summer from thrift books because they're based out west. City Lights is out west. So it's a lot easier to find work from them. The thrift books has a lot of their stuff. So, I never really looked that closely at City Lights, but this year I've been reading the Spotlight series a lot. I got a lot of those books. Catherine Wagner's book is phenomenal. Julien Poirier is phenomenal. I had the John Coletti book. I haven't been able to get the Edmund Berrigan book, which I really, really want. He's probably my favorite contemporary writer, maybe in a way. So it's just a short little thing. I don't know if it's going to mean that to anybody else. It's a haiku. It's a stop along the way. It tells the story, but that's where I was. I was in the country. I was thinking country music. I was listening to country music. And, once again, I'm coming out of Beach Bum mode, and that movie's kind of white trash. McConaughey, and it takes place in Florida, and Jimmy Buffett's in it, and it's, it's country. Harmony Korine, he lives in Nashville. He's kind of into that. He's kind of into that. I don't know. That's the realness of our stupidity of the, poor people in this country. Me and the wine and the city lights. So that's what I was doing. Getting fucking wasted and tasted and basted, and I placed it. I maced it. They iced it, I aced it. For the time being. I thought that was a great title. For the time being. I should have called the whole book For the Time Being. It's like a Philip Whalen title. If this was called For the Time Being. That's kind of just felt, that's where we're at right now. For the time being. This is what we're doing. We're locked at home. But it's just a beautiful phrase. Like Philip Whalen's book, Like I Say. So for the time being, I think is, and I've been, by taking these phrases that are everyday, but there's so many of them, and recontextualizing, that's something Lewis Warsh does a lot. For the time being, by recontextualizing them as a title, you sort of think about the different meanings. For the time being. For the time being, the time being. That's what we're doing right now. We're just being. The whole society's in this sort of weird meditation, enforced withdrawal from addiction to go, go, go. A lot of the fun shit of our culture, but maybe a lot of at least that's how it felt early in the quarantine. We were sort of breaking and on a fast. It was all of a sudden like our, all of our drugs had been taken away from us, and just like, oh my God, we're being forced to dry out or something, and then it didn't take long for people to get back to all their, things they do to distract from just being. Remember how loud the birds were? I did hear some weird sounds this year, I gotta say. Like unusual noises. The birds this spring were like, and that's what my piece was about from the first part of the Pandemic Journal. Was maybe I should just read all of them in a row. But it was just about how loud they were. Listen, you don't hear them now. It's wintertime, of course, but even in spring, you're not going to hear them like you were. And the other thing is at midnight. At midnight, I really didn't want to be in this apartment, so I went outside, and it was just crazy. All of the rumbling and popping and, shots going off, fireworks, people banging pots and pans, being outside at midnight, and it's quiet in the full moon, and right out front here, and it didn't feel like a war necessarily. It didn't sound like a war necessarily, because it didn't sound malicious or agonized, but it was this kind of like glittering cacophony of pops and snaps and thrums, and that did feel, I've never really heard that before. There's been a number of things this year that have been totally like, wow. Going to New York, hearing bands everywhere on the street, and seeing fucking, huge protests and people dancing in the street because fucking Trump lost and blah, blah, blah. Like there has been a number of really crazy fucking unprecedented, like it's one thing when you experience it through a screen. It's another thing entirely when you step outside and literally you hear the actual sound of people doing that. And you're like, wow, this is like a bigger thing. This is like human. This is real. This is not some fucking TV. Like the news, I think this is one reason why there's so much nihilism and apathy and self-destructive, willful self-destructiveness. Because in this country, it's because people think the news is a TV show that doesn't affect them, or they're so desensitized they're kind of like daring it to affect them. They want the pain to threaten them so they'll feel something real. I mean, I don't know. The news is like it zombifies and it mesmerizes everybody, and it is a TV show, I think. Whereas you step outside and you hear the whole community popping and fizzing, and it's like, this is real. This is not fucking. Sweet. Oh, do we have to have that on for that to work? That's some bullshit. So, this pertains to that. For the time being, we have an inclusive Discord. We have an inclusive Discord. I've experienced a sudden drop in barometric pressure. I'm so rich, I could afford to die in New York City. So once again, we have an inclusive Discord. It's everything I was talking about. It was just the political situation in this country, how it was insane, clearly. Discord everywhere. Discord, I would say. It's the word of the fucking year. Discord. 2020. I've experienced a sudden drop in barometric pressure. Ted Berrigan has that line about something about barometric 20 degrees and wandering or something. So this is an echo of that. But it's also just, it's emotional weather. I mean, the sudden drop in barometric pressure, that could mean a lot of things, but for me personally, obviously, probably my love situation. And then I'm so rich I could afford to die in New York City is kind of a sarcastic comment on, I was getting all this unemployment money, and July 29th was when the PUA expired. So that was kind of when my finances peaked. And it was just so surreal, I think, to have that money and just be like, wow, I could afford it. And New York, the idea being if you were to move back there right now, you might die because, Jesus Christ. I mean, think about it. Think about where we are already. Supposedly 400,000 people have died from this. Remember, everybody was scared shitless when they said 2.2 million could die. And I think, I was reading the other day, I think the Spanish flu only killed 650,000 people. We're already kind of beyond that. Let's see. Let's look it up on our fact checking. $675,000 people in the United States. Almost that many people have died already from this. This is more dangerous than the fucking Spanish flu. I don't know how people aren't getting that through their goddamn heads, but it does feel real strange to be in the middle of that. It's a weird fucking time to be alive. This hasn't happened for a fucking century. Ashbury. I was thinking about Ashbury. What timing? He was born, I think, in 1927 or 25, somewhere around there, 27 maybe, and probably 25, maybe 25. And he died 2017.
he did it perfectly. He timed it perfectly. I mean, he lived through the Depression and World War II, but he was out of here right before the pandemic. And he was born after World War I in the Spanish flu. Before Night's Sleep. So that is Before Night's Sleep. That movie, that Julian Schnabel movie, Before Night Falls. I was thinking of that title. And I don't know, the idea... I mean, anything could be before night sleep because anytime you're awake is before night sleep, technically. But it also just sounded like something nice. This is when you're in bed thinking. The poems don't really have anything to do with the titles necessarily, just like my live streams. I just think of a title and I have to use it immediately. The fucking stream itself doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the title. It's just like, here's the best title I thought of. Boom, there it is. So the idea with these writings is they're all chronological, and they're literally, these are just the best thoughts, phrases, little pieces of poem that occurred to me throughout the day. I like to have things occur to me that are sort of accidents of language, misreadings, mishearings, that sort of create a more potent possibility rather than sitting down. And it's hard to make that, you have to find that a lot of times. It's hard to make that up. At least it is for me. So I did find, like, I just had to kind of go through my day, and if somebody would say something smart or funny, or like I said, if I misread something, then boom, I write it in my notebook. These are my notebooks, like I said, it's like having an iPhone or whatever. So this is what it originally looks like, and I keep tons of these fucking things. I mean, I'm constantly, keeping a running tab of whatever the best lines that I think of are. And the idea is they do sort of form a story. If you read it in the larger context of, like, the narrative of the life, like I said, if you read it in the context of all these news events, and all the personal, I mean, that's what's, I think, the limitation of it, or what's hard about it is personal connotations, a lot of it. So the reader might not have any fucking clue what's going on, or might not even be able to infer what's going on because they're just not, I don't know. Like I said, I don't like laying out a lot of language. I could do even the poets yesterday at the marathon. It's like they mostly write sentences and compose thoughts and really go for, and for me it's more like picking up scraps of just things you find along the way and piecing that together almost like a mosaic. I like the shardness of it, the heap of fragments of it. Maybe that's an Eliot thing, but that feels accurate still to our culture. Just gets more and more fragmented and more, non sequitur and, immediate reality, and sharing your thoughts, sharing your inner world, sharing your personal life, and doing it through this kind of music video, quick cutting. I'm not sure that people do like quick cutting. The idea is like, if you make something short and fast, the audience will like it. More people will watch it. They'll stick with it. It's like, I think people might like duration and rolling the carpet out for them, actually. This is a process thing for me as much as anything. I mean, I can notate the language, the thought, the remark, the perception in any direction, any tense, any third person, first person, past tense, second person, and I just trust that. However the phrase comes to me, I don't try and, that one's in present tense and that one's in, so I got to change one of them. No, just let it all. That's how, I think film editing video stuff really had a huge influence in my writing, because these clips, the way they just kind of jump and fragment together,
and finding a rhythm through that, as opposed to, with a movie you have an establishing shot and then it goes into the thing, and there's a little bit more smoothness and revision, and I kind of like just having the clatter and the origin. Some of it is that, like, you can't change it. I think there is a sense that, like, uh, it is better. First thought, best thought. uh, I don't necessarily know that I believe first thought, best thought. I wouldn't subscribe to that theory, but I do think that when something comes to you, particularly, like, a lot of what I do, it's about the letters and how they reiterate. So if you change the tense, if I change from think to thought, it changes the whole, weave, the whole aesthetic. So I can't really do that. If I have think and like, it needs to be think and like. It can't be thought and like. Like, that changes it totally. So if something comes to me in that way, that's the way I'm going to leave it. I don't, to amend it later, I always know that I did. I'm very reluctant to do that. I really will only change stuff if I feel like it really is better, if with a little something different, So Before Nights Sleep, I thought that was a great title. But it's one of those titles that's like, you almost don't even notice it, that it's different. It sounds so normal and so like a phrase you've heard before, and the words are kind of broad. Before Night Sleep, it's not super specific, so it maintains that. But I think they reiterate, there's two E's in before, there's two E's in sleep. Night's kind of in the center of them. It's a phrase I've never heard before, even though it sounds like very classic, or it could be something that's said, or something that has been said. Like, it kind of slides between. I think, like, when people, so many people name their books after, like, songs, or they'll name their, like, fucking. How many fucking movies there are named after Grateful Dead songs? Broke Down Palace, American Beauty is a Grateful Dead album. It's like, you couldn't have thought of a fucking title. Like, thinking of a title is one of the most fun parts. But this title has nothing to do with the piece. Well, it kind of does. This is me thinking as I'm about to go to sleep. So you could infer, I mean, it's the end of the page. I do think about page layout, so you could infer maybe this is the end of this day or something. Where can I get truly wild? The live stream's not doing the trick. Substack is blogs. This film's extreme. I rediscover, picking up where I left off. They won't let me. My orgasm's incredible, as I had an emotional day. So yeah, this is, I mean, I was doing a lot of live streaming. The question, I had that one blog about I need to be around wild people, because I don't know, whatever reason I was feeling like I couldn't be wild. Probably because the culture's holding me back. People are intimidated by my frankly fabulous wild energy. The live stream's not doing the trick, So once again, I mean, this is what we're all feeling. Where do we go to be wild? Where do we go to do fucking anything? Like, we're live streaming. We're on Zoom. Like, we're getting sick of it. Substack is blogs. You know, I pick up a lot of shit on Twitter, and this is a writer thing. This is like the newest fucking service is this thing called Substack. And Alexandra Kleeman. That's an Alexandra Kleeman tweet. She said Substack is blogs. And I don't know what the fuck Substack is, but I think it's like a subscription. You know, if I'm a writer, I have a Substack, and you pay me, and you get a subscription to essays or my blog, basically. You know. And I just saw somebody today post some shit about how they started a Substack. So I don't know. That's just Twitter writer shit. I mean, Alexandra Kleeman, I have kind of an interesting connection because Olivia, shit, maybe I shouldn't mention people by name, but her dude was, I guess, like his situation with Alexandra Kleeman was similar to my situation with Olivia, where like they're like twin flames, or you know, they could never like be together. I think she went to Columbia. Alexandra Kleeman was she's a fiction writer or a novelist, I guess, and one of definitely one of the contemporary writers I admire, I'd say. Very strong, very powerful writer. And it was just funny. It makes sense. It makes sense that guy would be, you know. Because I think her and Olivia are kind of similar, maybe. In some ways. So that was me basically just ripping her line. Substack is blogs. This film's extreme. I rediscover, picking up where I left off. They won't let me. My orgasm's incredible as I had an emotional day. I'm not really sure what that middle part's about. You know, I was probably watching some movie that was some kind of extreme sex or violence thing, maybe. Picking up where I left off, they won't let me. You know, that's just one of those things where you're in this transom of language, in this transom of thought, and it's meant to give you that. It's like an Eileen Myles passage. Clearly, it's kind of a rip of that. But, you know, if I was a casual reader reading that, I would probably be thwarted by the clutter and the I don't know that I'd say it's clumsy, but like there is. I don't use punctuation. I guess it's the most hackneyed. Most of my technique is just yesterday's whatever hackneyed avant-garde bullshit. So, you know, like Gertrude Stein said something about punctuation is the police of language or whatever. And I don't know. I don't really feel like it's real. Like, I do feel if you read the fucking Google transcript of my fucking thought conferences, my new Bible, there's not really, I don't know, is there punctuation? There's more of a sense of it just like kind of all running. Like Merwin, I think, did that. He doesn't use punctuation or capital letters or commas or any of his shit. Because to me, that is a little bit more how your mind is. Your mind is uncapitalized and unpunctuated and just kind of run on and endless. And so me, I want to stylize that, make it a little more of a cartoon, make it a little more of a highlight reel, make it a little more emphatic. But I don't even know if I would claim that what I do is poetry as much as just kind of an experimental form of writing. That's sort of, I'm into thought process. I'm into hearing people's inner monologues and hearing really smart ideas and smart language and profound ideas about life. And I think that's one thing poetry does. Not necessarily what it does for everybody, but that's my niche. My orgasm's incredible as I had an emotional day. So once again, this is right before I went to sleep. And I was being emotional probably because my fucking relationship stuff, So I had an incredible orgasm. So incredible rhymes with emotional, kind of. This film's extreme, I rediscover, picking up where I left off. They won't let me. This film's extreme. Well, I think it was, where can I get truly wild? Part of the fun for me is different interpretations. So when you're putting all these things close together and you're not saying, here's a comma, here's a period, here's a semicolon, this is what it means, it's up to the reader to decide where they think those things go based on intelligent decisions about, okay, well, this could be the clause, and it creates more meaning. So with this one, where can I get truly wild? The live stream's not doing the trick. Substack is blogs. This film's extreme. I rediscover picking up where I left off. They won't let me. I think that's how it was meant to be. My orgasm's incredible as I had an emotional day. So I think it's supposed to be declarative. The live stream's not doing the trick. Substack is blogs. This film's extreme. See how that rhythm? The live stream's not doing the trick. Substack is blogs. This film's extreme. I rediscover picking up where I left off. They won't let me. My orgasm's incredible. See, if I put line breaks there, maybe that would be a different stanza. People would understand that's one chunk of a phrase. So it's not, this film's extreme, I rediscover, picking up where I left off. They won't let me. It's, Substack is blogs. This film's extreme. I rediscover picking up where I left off. They won't let me. I think that's what I meant by that. So, like, you have all these, I rediscover, all these qualifications sort of flopping over each other. I rediscover picking up where I left off. So I'm trying to pick up where I left off. Like I said, July 29th, that's where the unemployment ran out. So I wanted to pick up where I left off. I wanted to go back to New York and do my life and pick up where I left off. So I rediscover picking up where I left off. They won't let me. Meaning they won't let me, just being a vague, they, the evil forces of the universe, the goon squad of invisible dark energy that's whatever moving around us, and the black hand that's sort of one of the warring forces trying to guide coincidence or energy. I rediscover picking up where I left off. They won't let me. See, that to me, that's the only way you could say that in a way. I mean, it is all these crazy, why do I rediscover picking up where I left off? I think because I've been trying to pick up where I left off and it just keeps not happening, so I'm rediscovering it yet again. They won't let me. Once again, I don't know, they won't let me. They won't let me get an audience. They won't let me make any money or not live with my mom. This is karma. This is the karma police. My orgasm's incredible as I had an emotional day. So I don't know. I think I'm drawing a correlation there between emotion and feeling and sexual grace. Sexual rescue or I feel like I need to get in this bathtub. So that's just the first page. There's a lot going on here. I could explain it. Maybe if I explained everything, then people would start to like what I'm doing. I don't think it takes away from it to explain it, actually. I think it gives it more depth. Like now that people understand what's going on, they can go, oh, fuck. I rediscovered picking up where I left off. They won't let me. Jesus Christ, yes. Linear collage. So linear collage, that's just what I consider this, really. It's a linear process, meaning in these notebooks, I write down the thoughts one after the other. Linear, it's linear time. This I thought of, then I thought of this line, and then this line, So there is an I Ching element. There's an element of chance. You're just trusting that the lines are going to add up to a poem or a story or some kind of, like I said, it is about the whole time lapse photography of the living, my reality tunnel, the time lapse of that in little clips, in little the highlights, So linear collage, that's what this is. It's a collage of all of these disparate thoughts and things I saw and colors and shape and form, and that is a big part of it too. I mean, a big part of it is how it looks on the page. How it balances. Like, to me, that is the visual. It is a painting. It is a drawing. I mean, this book is a little more conventional, where it's got a lot of left margin and just kind of tall columns and things. I mean, this piece is. When I went to California, my writing started to swoop a little more all over the page. Like the clouds out there, and I just kind of, it is about making a sculpture and having it kind of balance on top of itself and making it look nice. So if nothing else, you're flipping through it and thinking, oh, like that stuff looks really nice on the page. It doesn't, that's the form. It's not a sonnet. It's not 14 lines. It's not a sestina. It's a free form, but it's not totally free, because you are creating a picture. You are creating, an aesthetic composition, and it's not concrete poetry in that, or whatever that shit is, where it's like if it's raining, you make it look like rain or whatever. It's not that literal. It's more just like, I want to draw certain syllables together. Golden dragon sword, all kind of have D, L, O, N, G. So putting them on top of each other, you're drawing attention to that. You're saying, in a certain way, maybe you are trying to divulge some kind of ancient relation between the alepphs, the characters, the hieroglyph, the symbology, the encrypted alphabetical code. It is like you see these guys reading the Torah or whatever. The idea is it's written in some kind of fucking code that, like, the letters appear in a certain way, and there is a golden ratio to it or something. And I'm not, obviously I'm not saying my shit is coded. There's not hidden messages, but it's not free where you're just throwing whatever the fuck you want. The ordering principles are, like I said, it's about the letters, the reiteration of the letters. That's something my dad taught me. He's always saying shit like that about, his band, the Alligators. That word alligator looked like the band. There were some tall guys and some, short guys and round, like he compares a lot of stuff to that. So he's a poet. He sees language that way. So to me, that's the technique. It's not like you're counting syllables. The stanzas are kind of thought bubbles, like I said, or haiku. A haiku is just a perception along the way, really. That's the way they were originally composed. They would go on these walking journeys, and when they'd have an epiphany or when a haiku would emulsify, they'd mark it down, or they'd say it out loud to their buddies or whatever. To me, that's what these are. These are just little messages, little postcards along the way from consciousness. And it's a travelogue, it's a diary, it's a life work, it's Proust, it's Jack Kerouac's life story. You know, the idea being if I do these every couple of months, my entire life novelization, that this will be it. You know, you could bind all of these books together and it would form a continuity. I mean, it would shift and it would change based on, like I said, when I was in California, my writing started to swoop a little bit. Now that I'm back in Ohio, you know, and it's based on the notebook too. The notebook negotiates. That's why I like having notebooks of different sizes, because the page size says the poem will be this long. You know, in this notebook, I'm not going to write a fucking novel or a bunch of prose poems. This is my pocket notebook, so I take it with me anytime I leave the house. And, you know, thoughts that are a certain size, they go in there, the short ones. And it adds up to a different thing than this notebook, which this is more of a sit-down notebook. I mean, it's still portable, it's still small, but you know, a lot of these pieces were written in this notebook. You know, the Walmart of Rain. So, you know, it was arranged on the page, and the poem was really dictated by the length of the page. So you have, you know, like these pages, they're not really sonnet length, they're a little bit longer than that. So you get something, you know, it's not 14 lines, it's probably more like 28 or 30, you know, something like that. And it's the way that I just used it and saw it at that time was sort of more long and thin. And so I had a bunch of pieces that came out that way. And I thought, you know, a lot of times pieces come out in batches, and that's a unification. That's a sequence, you know? So these, like I said, they were, when I came back from New York, Book of the World, Waiting It Out. These were pieces I didn't even type up. They're not even in the final thing, but they're of the same kind of litter. They're the same. They have the same characteristics. Whereas if I had a different notebook, if I had a notebook that was this big or something, the poems would be different. You know, they'd use the page differently. So that kind of, you know, Life Manga, that's a good title. Giddy Up, good title. Debate Bank, Hearsay Bonanza. You know, From the Flow of My Own Privacy. Go Long. Kill Your Parents. You know, there's a lot of things that doesn't make the cut, but the idea is the notebooks do kind of form one flowing, bigger, greater work, just like the TV show. They fit together. So if you watch the show and then you read High on Life, so if you watch all the episodes I made, you know, in Clintonville of me walking around and shit, and you read this, if you read Beach Trees, if you read my pandemic diary, it kind of, this is like the inner monologue of the movie. So, you know, I could overlay it over the thing, but I like having them different. They're different works, but they are companions, and they are kind of joint in a way. So, joints, speaking of which, John Wiener's Diaries. John Wiener's Diaries. I want to do a John Wiener's character. John Wiener's Diaries. At the Network Distribution Center in Cincinnati. Eternal Verse. 3 eggs over easy. Side of bacon. John Wiener's, if you don't know John Wiener's, you should definitely get into John Wiener's. He's one of the ultimate epic human wizards of the 20th century. He has one of the all-time great looks and just as unbelievable voice. And he's magic poet, no question. Totally unique, totally his own, and sacred. He can talk about things in a way that's fine, very effortless composition. his stuff is so beautiful. It's so beautifully woven as to be imperceptible, and just so elegant and so. But he has a book, Cincinnati Pike. So this is about. I mean, John Wiener's diaries. That phrase, Wiener's diaries. The IES. You have four. WIEN is a kind of a corollary to DIAR. It's 4 letters. Second letter I. Third letter a vowel. Fourth letter that kind of bend R's almost like an incompleted N. That harkens back to John. Then you have diary, so it ends in E-S, S at the end. So he has a book called Cincinnati Pike. And I've been ordering all these books from Thrift Books, which is online. I talked about it. And I check, you can check the USPS to see when they're going to be delivered. And I'm checking to see when this John Wiener's diary is going to get delivered. Star Seen in Person. And it says it's at the Network Distribution Center in Cincinnati. So I thought it was kind of a funny coincidence and kind of a funny moment. And I wanted to pay tribute to this poet that, John Wiener's, who had wrote Cincinnati Pike, his book was waiting for me at the Network Distribution Center in Cincinnati. So, but it's also, the phrase of it. The distribution, Cincinnati, kind of similar, those N's, I's. Network Distribution Center is just such an interesting phrase to me. Network, center, those words kind of have harmonic N-E-T, C-E-N-T. The R at the end of the word. Cincinnati, center in Cincinnati, all those C's, 3C, I don't know. I mean, it is kind of temporal information. It is personal information. I'm trying to elevate it to the level of symbolic and mythological, at least in my own personal. I think that's everyone's responsibility. That's how I understand it, is we are supposed to ceremonialize our lives and live them ritualistically and magically. So that's what I'm trying to do by notating these coincidences. It's sort of, in doing it in, like I said, an alphabetical, kind of encoded woven form. This book is the sort of trail of that. These are the trails, the thought trails. The idea trails. They're really just truncated, extremely truncated, basically encapsulations or captions of this. This is an oral form where I can expand and fill out literally kind of the information. Whereas with this, it's like you just put the little like I said, alphabetic encrypted riddle of it. Like, it's almost like a little fortune cookie fortune. And you just leave it. You don't explain it. It's just there. I mean, that's the idea with art, right? You're not supposed to explain it. So that's what I'm doing. Doesn't work if you don't explain it. Let me try this bad motherfucker right here. All right. Going in. Is it going to be wet in here? No, it's good. Okay. So that's linear collage.
So, like, linear collage doesn't necessarily have anything to do with that. It's almost like the titles and things are interchangeable. They're all part of one longer thing. So by saying linear collage, that's more like a comment on what the work is. That is a way of defining the total work. It is a linear collage. I mean, life is a linear collage. Our thoughts are the collage. Our life is the linear. Like our passage through it is linear. I always hear these people talking about how time is not linear. And I do get that, but I also don't get that. Like, my life is definitely fucking linear. Like, there's things that go back and forth, and it's certainly also non-linear. But the way it's non-linear is more, I don't know, telepathic, internal. Like, the literal, corporeal bullshit that we go through is pretty linear. There's no going back, as far as I can tell. Is that echo going to be totally shitty? So, John Wiener's Diaries at the Network Distribution Center in Cincinnati. Eternal Verse. That's what I'm saying. John Wiener's Eternal Verse. 3 eggs over easy side of bacon. I don't know. That was just a way. Over easy and verse kind of rhyme. And like I said, that may have been a few hours later that occurred to me. 3 eggs over easy side of bacon. That was probably something I just overheard, or maybe it was what I had for breakfast. But John Wiener's kind of exists. He's always putting, like, I saw this interview with John Wiener's in a Burger King. His favorite place to meet people when he was older. People would be like, "We want to take you out to a steak dinner. We want to buy you fancy." And John Wiener's would be like, "Meet me in Burger King in fucking, whatever, Harvard Square or whatever the hell." Because he's kind of a 3 eggs over easy kind of guy, So putting that diner against the John Wiener's thing, I don't know. This stuff, if I send it out for publication, it's not standalone. It's not really meant to be. They're all meant to be just kind of fragments that are stuck in the kind of mud of the silence of the whole life. The moments you don't see, they're like pinhole on a little moment. You iris in, and you can infer. You get the impression there's so much diversity in the landscape. There's so much diversity in the scenes that are presented to you that you get the feeling of a life. Whereas like a movie or even a 400-page novel can just focus on one little thing so much, you're not getting that feeling of time passing and traversing a lot of different moods, atmospheres. I don't know. Trivial information in a way. I like that stuff. I like notating down, I don't know, little factual things or nope, sorry. Hydroponic supper bombs deal everything. Restore insanely holiday orange sand. Rolling one shorter lip of cloud. Tried and true. Doberman from the archive cemetery available. The people's ticks. The people's hot licks. Hydroponic supper bombs deal everything. Restore insanely holiday orange sand. Rolling one shorter lip of cloud, tried and true. Doberman from the archives, cemetery available. The people's ticks, the people's hot licks. Nope, sorry. Those P's, O's, S, supper bombs. I keep hearing all this shit about bath bombs. Speaking of, I'm in the bathtub, I might as well talk about it. But when I worked at Victoria's Secret, it was like there were all these bath bombs, and you look at them and it's like, Jesus Christ, there's all this shit, oxide and all these metals and weird magnesium and shit that you're like, I don't want to get in a bathtub with all this like toxic ass, like what the fuck is Les Wexner putting in this shit? Once again, the fact that our world is run by the devil, Victoria's Secret is like promoting these bath bombs like there's some kind of like wellness, relaxation, get home, have a bath bomb, and it's gonna like make your skin silky smooth, and it's like there's so many nasty chemicals in this. And then this other person on Instagram, I think, was sharing these things about these bath bombs that they were making. I just think it's kind of a funny term. So I don't know, hydroponic supper bombs. That was my kind of interpretation of bath bombs. There is something about them that's like kind of culinary, like you can have like gourmet bath bombs, where it's like all these cardamom or whatever the fuck. And hydroponic supper bombs. I don't know. Those P's, the B's, the phrase. A lot of it is just sonic to me. The sound, being a musician, I think that's one thing I like about Kerouac, and Clark Coolidge talks about this, and something Clark Coolidge does is like, the sense, the meaning, and the form are coming as much from the sound in addition to the way the words look on the page, the letters. Like with Kerouac, you see that a lot. The way his letters and his words kind of recur, there is a lot of rhyming. It's not rhyming. It's not rhyme and time and crime and dime. But when you say John Wiener's Diaries, that is also a rhyme. There's a more complicated rhyme going on. That's a triple rhyme in a way. It's a triple rhyme. It's a triple rhyme, guys. So hydroponic supper bombs, that's like, it's like Kerouac, obviously jazz, playing in bands and things has definitely, and being with Sarah too, but also just, I've been around music my whole life, and hearing things in that way, almost like a jazz musician or whatever. My mom, music is huge for her too. It's the biggest thing in her life. But in both of our families, music is a huge thing, and so I will go for phrases a lot of the time that just have acoustical or sonic kind of qualities, like language poetry in a way. I like that stuff. I wish more people would do that. I actually find a lot of the avant-garde poets who are out there very conventional. I think people have to write about their identities, and that's what's avant-garde and new about it. And so they do that in a legible, composed way a lot of the time, not always. Whereas, the techniques and things, maybe this is over and done with, and yesterday's news, and maybe it is egotistical, solipsistic white guy bullshit. But I like the way that like Charles Bernstein, takes things apart. I think Charles Bernstein is fucking phenomenal. Like, I think that if he were to try to write sincerely, he would be incredibly corny. And I don't necessarily know that he would be like a very good conventional poet. But I think the way that he writes is like supercharged and totally fucking amazing. And I would I feel an affinity with that. And I like the work that's done by those type of poets. Like I said, Clark Coolidge, Burnett Mayer has a lot of pieces like that. Bill Berkson. Even Ted Berrigan stuff has elements. The way that the words and the rhymes are kind of slated in place and mortared in comes from these type of considerations. Black Mountain sense of sound, 50 sense of sound, jazz, folk music in a way. There was kind of an intensity to the acoustics of a lot of that stuff. Coffee houses, that does get into the poetry. There's a different approach with a lot of these people. Paul Blackburn, like I said, John Wieners. So this is a little bit more of a, I don't know. Maybe part of my problem is I throw too many words in without maximizing some kind of immediately satisfying truth or meaning. Hydroponic supper bombs deal everything. Restore insanely holiday orange sand. Rolling one shoulder lip of cloud, tried and true Doberman from the archive cemetery available. The people's ticks, the people's hot licks. So I don't know what the fuck that's about. Like, it's just an image, orange sand. Restore insanely holiday orange sand, rolling one shoulder lip of cloud, tried and true. Like that's, once again, that's the fucking river. That's all this out here, that big hill, the clouds, the sunshine. Doberman from the archives is Crazy Doberman. This guy I follow on Instagram, who's kind of like an indie punk rock dude. I think he lives in Indianapolis or something, but he's pretty supportive. He was pretty supportive of the wavetable stuff. Cemetery available. I'm not really sure why that got in, but it is what it is. I don't, like I said, with this stuff, you just kind of take it wholesale, and it was just kind of sound. I mean, this one is a little awkward, but the ending, the people's ticks, the people's hot licks, it rhymes, it repeats, so it kind of lets you off at this place that, and that's kind of a Dwayne The Rock Johnson thing, I think, the people's champ. But that's also a communist thing. I don't know if he was making fun of that, but when he called himself the people's champion, you know, like in Soviet Russia, it's like the People's Republic of China, the people's, so kind of interesting. In high school, we thought about calling our band the People's Band. We were at Bob Evans with Dad and Susan brainstorming band names for whatever. I mean, because I like the rock, but I like the communist connotations of it as well. The people's ticks, the people's hot licks, I think is my portrait of America this year. People's ticks being ticks, blood sucking, but also, which is another, you know, forest thing, but also ticks, you know, Americans got a lot of ticks, guns, whatever their fucked up attitude is, their brand loyalty towards fuck you. The people's hot licks being, my year has just been full of hot licks. Guitar bullshit, blues guitar bullshit, Jerry Garcia, and then jazz licks, hot licks, and you know, lines, even lines in poetry. Those, you could say those are licks. You know, like once again with Kerouac, his choruses, he's taking a jazz-based or an improvisation-based approach to form, where he's saying, and this is, you know, the form is the page, it's a chorus, and everything he does in that time, he's going to keep, because that was a part of the solo. You know, even though I said cemetery available, Doberman from the archive, cemetery available. I mean, available kind of rhymes with archives, Doberman, cemetery, Doberman. I don't know. There's certain words that just kind of reiterate. And there's a cemetery right across the river. So it's kind of, you know, these images, this is all part of the landscape. You know, you're just trusting that, you know, my approach to art is just like whenever it occurs to you, you say it. You don't wait for the right time to put it in. You don't wait for like the cemetery fucking poem to come to you to like be like, okay, now I'm going to write it at the cemetery. It's like, okay, the cemetery showed up in this fucking poem about Nope, Sorry, which is not, I don't even know what the fuck it's about. It's like I said, it's just a spiel. It's just kind of a word salad. Word salad's good for you, okay? It's a salad. At least it's not a word cheeseburger or a word cheesecake or a word fried chicken double down ass sandwich. It's a word salad. So eat it and shut up and like it. You will like my vegetables of writing. This is the healthiest fucking writing you're going to possibly. This is the gluten-free pancakes, waffles, pizza, allergen-free, detox. This is not soy boy bullshit, okay? You're going to keep your hair on your nards, but you're going to get some fucking nutrition, for God's sake. And your skin is going to shine because you're actually eating healthy vitamins and fish oil. August 1st, Day X. Day X was I just thought it was a badass term. I thought it sounded like Mega Man X, Day X. But it was some kind of Proud Boy bullshit, or like Day X. I forget what it was. It was like the day they were going to fucking, I don't know, overthrow the government or some bullshit. So I thought I'd just appropriate it from them, Day X. I thought it was a cool, once again, it's just whatever sticks, whatever I hear. If I hear something that sounds like a good title, my whole life priority is to get to my notebook and write it down in the right place in the composition, you know? And I do think about what goes together and can I write this here and which notebook does this belong in. It's not totally arbitrary. So Day X, August 1st. So now we're into the new month. We're out of July, happy beach bum land, into August, Leo fucking season, where things got pretty hot and stinky for me. Day X. Losing makes room for more. See, that phrase in and of itself, losing makes room for more. I don't think people really know what's going on there. Like, room for more. Those words it's almost like a palindrome. Room and more are almost like the same word backward. So, losing makes room for more. That's what all these fucking astrologers are constantly telling you. It's literally what the guy said today. We have to get rid of old stuff so new stuff can come in. Losing makes room for more. I mean, okay, maybe it's not. I think it's pretty good. Losing makes room for more. That could be the whole fucking piece. I mean, do I believe that? I'm a hoarder. I want to hold on to everything. I wonder about that. I'm constantly afraid that I'm losing things. I'm leaving things behind. You know, I'm constantly accruing books. Even my room, it's like I keep envelopes from people's letters and shit. I'm afraid to throw them away, you know, like. I think I heard somebody say it's about like you're afraid to lose your penis or something like that, like in the Freudian meaning. So I don't know. That's part of my artistic technique, I think. Documenting all these moments, all these memories. There is some sense that you don't lose them. You know, I can go back and watch 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. And it kind of feels like, you know, I'm there. I mean, I do want to get into the issue about how my memory is different or shaped by the footage. Maybe on a different episode. Remind me to talk about that at another point. But I'm not one of these people that's like, I gotta burn all my fucking old shit so new shit can come in, or so I don't know. Losing makes room for more. Something I'm just telling myself. Day X being maybe the day I found out about my ex. Neil and Weber, I've gotten laid on that corner, which is true. But this is kind of an awkward segue. Neil and Weber, I've gotten laid on that corner. John Ryan used to live near there. He comments on my Instagram post of 10 pictures in the neighborhood. I've been posting daily walks, like selective, really slow movies. So, okay, Neil and Weber, I've gotten laid on that corner. Let me just read it. Neil and Weber, I've gotten laid on that corner. John Ryan used to live near there. He comments on my Instagram post of 10 pictures in the neighborhood. I've been posting daily walks, like selective, really slow movies. Some to insides drape, conscious illusion in this town. Introduced myself to a new part of the day. Started to doubt the outfits. winter fashion stretch, re-dry it, left a lot of my us, done the salmon blue pick, bar, ass bar, filling energy. Lime blouse, raspberry barrette, tooth and cambric incorporated commercial spiel shot, naturally occurring dates, FAFSA vegetarian like RX like false giveaway, speed peanut butter, a fixed entrance. Now I'm on my break. So this one just becomes kind of a word salad shooter. Just kind of shoots it all down your fucking gullet at once. All these just things that just butt all up against each other. There's no. So when you're reading that, you do have to kind of go with that and emphasize that. So when I say Neil and Weber, I've gotten laid on that corner. John Ryan used to live near there. I'm not. I felt obviously what people are going to read is I've gotten laid potentially with John Ryan, but that's not what happened. I mean, my lady friend lived over there in 2013 when we had a nice, pretty long, we went out for a couple of months, I'd say. I'd go over to her house, I'd watch Pete and Pete. She was cool. She's like this girl that I've had kind of a weird running affinity with for a long time, since I was probably 20. But we finally kind of got together winter of 2013, and she lived on Neil and Weber, which is one block over. So, like I say in this summer during this time, I was going out and I was taking pictures on my walks, and I have all these pictures, of just buildings. Because I find this neighborhood, I don't know, there is an aesthetic. It is like that backyard. I've talked about it, Americana, whatever. Garage, ramshackle, kind of shack, farm, but in the city. Prohibition, I don't know, bootlegger. There's a lot of nice things that I see on my walk. So I thought for a while I'd share pictures every day on Instagram. So I got a couple of comments. There's a lot of social media in all this because that's one of the few things we have, I hate to mention Instagram in a poem, but I don't know. I've been posting daily walks like selective, really slow movies. I couldn't film movies and I couldn't edit video, but I found Max's camera so I could take pictures, So I was taking really slow, selective movies, and people were liking them, but it just got to be. Once I started to find out about what was going on with my ex, my whole emotional thing sort of collapsed. And Instagram, I just hate it. I hate posting stuff because the only thing you notice is who doesn't like it. And you get pissed at them. It's like, I don't know. I've unfollowed a lot of people over the past few days that were pretty close friends, actually, just because I feel like they're neglecting me. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm shooting myself in the foot, but it's just a twisted fucking app. It's twisted. Introduced myself to a new part of the day. Started to doubt the outfits, winter fashion stretch. Re-dry it, left a lot. My us, done the salmon blue pick, bar, ass, bar. Filling energy, lime blouse, raspberry barrette. Tooth and cambric incorporated commercial spiel shot. Naturally occurring dates. FAFSA vegetarian like RX like false giveaway. Speed peanut butter. A fixed entrance. Now I'm on my break. That's kind of a throwback to my poem War and Peace, which is another salad shooter of non sequitur that never really. It was kind of seminal for me, but it never really picked up any traction in public estimation. But the end of that goes, I have to go now. I have to go back to work. This one's kind of the opposite. Now I'm on my break. So I don't think my attitude changed. I think it's just kind of, I don't know. You're always looking for a way out. I feel like I'm just putting a lot of phrases on the ends of things that don't necessarily have emotional meaning. They just sound like endings. That's fine. I'm always, like I said, the poem comes in, the poem comes out. If I can find an ending, I'll take it. August 2nd, Red Bull Lives Matter. That was just a comment on kind of the commercialization, or I don't know, a possible. That was me speculating on a possible, like Red Bull fucking Academy of Music, or there's a fucking soccer team called the New York Red Bulls. So Red Bull kind of appends their branding to kind of shit in a weird way. So I thought that was something they could conceivably do. Red Bull Lives Matter. Some kind of awful fucking corporate tie-in with that. And how companies, I think even Chase had like fucking, I mean, Chase has co-opted Pride, certainly. I'm not sure if they've co-opted Black Lives Matter yet, but Red Bull Lives Matter. See, this is the kind of thing that I would be afraid to read to people. Because if I read that in person, I wouldn't want people to think, oh my God, what the fuck is he saying about Black Lives Matter? It was more a joke or a comment on the corporate brands and like Red Bull, like that Red Bull Music Academy. They've got interviews with like Eno and shit. And, you know, they sort of cultivate the idea that they are like, I don't know, some kind of connoisseur, like a soccer team, you know, like they're like a sophisticated brand. They're European maybe or something. I don't know. Vodka, Red Bull, who the fuck is drinking these things? But, you know, like these companies shouldn't be able to get away with this. You know, like we don't need the fucking house of bands and shit like that. Like, let some real people open a goddamn venue and like, we don't have to have everything have fucking corporate sponsorship, for Christ's sake. Every goddamn public sports team, the stadium is paid for by taxpayers because they app in some kind of tax or surcharge or whatever, sales tax, and then they sell the naming rights to some horrible fucking ugly ass company, U.S. Cellular Field. That used to be Comiskey Park. You know, Quicken Loans Arena. Like, come on. It's just nondescript, it's non-regional, it's generic corporate bullshit. The way corporations just have the complete run of our entire culture. If there is anything that we should fix, it should be that. You know, the corporations need to be disempowered, for sure. They need to disperse that power amongst the people, the good people of this land. They don't want our culture to grow from the ground up because they want to control people through fucking wage slavery and disempowering them by thinking they don't have anything valid. They can't follow their own original ideas. They have to get a job at fucking Wingstop where they make $13 an hour or less, probably, working, you know, Max had to work New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, 10 to 6. Fuck those people. They should burn in hell. And people think it's, oh, it's a job. You're lucky to have a job. Like, Red Bull Lives Matter. Wilford Brimley's obituary is on the front page of the New York Times. to be honest, and I don't mean, but I thought Wilford Brimley would have died a long time ago. He looked like he was 80. That was his whole career. Was the fact that he looked like he was 70 fucking years old. He looked like an old guy. His whole shtick was, diabetes. So the fact that he died this year was like, good for him. He really lived a fucking long ass time. I saw him in The Firm. That was 30 years ago. He looked like he was 80 in that movie. So I don't know. I also feel like I'm writing like, those acting exercise the unique New York. Or red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. And in Anchorman, they're making fun of it. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Vocal warm up. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. And I do think, not to promote Will Ferrell or anything, but I do think he is a poet of sorts. I think I'm in a glass case of emotion. Is probably one of the greatest poetry lines, like, I'm in a glass case of emotion. Yes. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Yes. What are some of the other ones? Can't think of any. But Wilford Brimley's obituary is on the front page of the New York Times. I guess it's not exactly the same thing, but there's a lot of Y's in that phrase, R, and then do a vowel. Wilford, L, I, Wilford Brimley, Wilford Brimley's obituary. That all right. Once again, it's doing the thing here. That spruces up the conversation. Flotation Walls House Show, Bexley, circa 2008-2009. One Room, Arizona. Florida Hole. Ongoing Wept. So, those last three things, those are just little broken off everything, but I just thought those were all good phrases. You do kind of have to take them individually. If you read them as some kind of bigger, like if you read the whole thing as one, it is more just like notations than a paragraph or something or an essay. It's like Wilford Brimley's obituary is on the front page of the New York Times. That spruces up the conversation. Not that I'm trying to dismiss Wilford Brimley's death or anything. Spruces up the conversation. That probably referred to something entirely different. That was probably, I was having a conversation with somebody else and I thought, oh, that spruced up. This phrase, let's spruce the place up. That's another one of those phrases that you're like, you hear it all the time, but it's so great. And to note it down, that's part of the job of poetry, is to like collect those things. Spruce it up. What the fuck does that word mean? Spruce. Where does that come from? Spruce it up a little bit. You gotta spruce it up. Such a great word. And then I like okay, spruce in conversation. The C does a different thing, but there's also an S in conversation that does what the C does. So it's like those sounds and consonants are jangling against each other and chiming against each other. That spruces up the conversation. Chiming. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to chime. Trying to get the vowels and the consonants to chime off each other, like wind chimes. So I could have a poem called Wind Chimes, or a book called Wind Chimes, or Chim Chimney Cheroo. Flotation Walls House Show, Bexley, circa 2008-2009. Flotation Walls was a band in Columbus. What a great name, Flotation Walls. That's like a poem in and of itself. And I just had this, I don't know, once again, it's like these memories are just surfacing. So I remember going to this house show in Bexley, and it was like really one of the only things I ever went to like that in Columbus. I didn't get invited to cool shit like that. And it was kind of a precursor of the Slooge, because it was this girl's living room, and it was like 80 fucking 60 fucking scene kids sitting on the floor in the living room, and there was this upright piano, and there was, you know, all these fucking indie scene hipster kids. And I think it was 2008. I don't remember the exact year, but I think it was 2008, 2009. It was like winter. It was around the time I tried to move to New York the first time. And I remember seeing this guy played first, and he was like, he played a Beck song off Sea Change, and he played some acoustic guitar. He was like emo kind of dude on acoustic guitar. And then Nick Tolford played. He was like big in Columbus. He played piano in his fucking lame ass R&B white dude bullshit that everybody went nuts for because they're fucking lame. And then this band Flotation Walls played with like acoustic guitars, and they were just like screaming, and like I don't remember them being any good or anything, but their name was cool. I met this girl Grace at fucking, I think it was 2008, I guess. No, it had to have been 2009. This girl Grace I met at this party, and I didn't meet that many girls back then. I wasn't good at that. And she was like super Christian. I mean, we kind of hit it off. It was a great night. We were dancing, and I don't know. It was with a lot of these really Christian girls. It's like they want to flirt, and they want to like get to know you and be friends, but they're also like, she put her head in my lap at one point. And it was like this amazing night because she was totally beautiful and smart, and she went to art school, and now, you know, we're Facebook friends. She's married. She's been married to the same dude, you know, for 10 years or whatever. They got kids. And she's like a creative, and she's liberal to some degree, I'd say. But like a lot of people around here grew up in like this awful religious, and it was just horrible. Like this girl, you know, I remember seeing her at the party before we started talking and just thinking, holy shit, like that girl is insanely pretty, and you know, she looks super arty and hipster as fuck. And so to talk to her, and all of a sudden she's like super Christian, you're like, that is weird dissonance. And like, what a fucking shame. Like, you could just be like some cool, I don't even think she drank. You know, you could just be like some cool scene kid just hanging out, partying, having a good time. And you are, but like in your awkward kind of like stilted Christian kid camp kind of way, which I guess I related to, but you know, it was more the story of my life, where just meeting somebody like that and hitting it off, and she's smart, and then that was like the roadblock. Like she was there with her cousin, and her cousin was like a drunken mess. I think they were at a wedding or something, and her cousin was like kind of a promiscuous and kind of, you know, the opposite maybe, or I don't know, maybe what her parents were trying to prevent her, you know. But her cousin was like on the floor, like, I think that's how we started talking, is her cousin like bumped into me or something, and she apologized. You know, like I said, I could not talk to people at that point. So it was rare for me to meet somebody that, you know, was that, you know, attractive and whatnot. So I don't know. I remember that night, but that was just like one of these fucking memories that surfaced this year, you know. The ongoing wept. That's what was going on for me at that time. An ongoing wept. And then one room Arizona Florida hole. People have what they call a Florida room, which is like a screened-in porch or something, I think. That's like glassed in, presumably because that's what people in Florida can have to sort of go outside but be away from insects and things because it's screened in. That's what this other girl who lived in Florida, her parents had this unbelievable, it was like fucking Xanadu or something, you know? Or St. Simeon, where it was like they had this like dome, like this netted fucking cage. First of all, they had a pool and a hot tub in their backyard. I mean, their house was like some palatial ass, like fucking like the Shah lived there or something. Like they were fucking, Persian or Saudi Arabian royalty or whatever. And they had this fucking like netted cage over their fucking whole ass pool, hot tub, yard thing in the back. So it was like, maybe that's what a Florida room is. I guess that's the extended Florida room. But there was a hole on Gahanna Golf Course we always used to call the Florida hole because it had like a glade and a big sand trap, and it reminded me of the golf courses we played in Florida, like the marshy kind of what are those things called? Something tails, deer tails or something in the lake, in the pond. Made it look like Florida. So August 3rd, 75-year plan, which is a joke from Bottle Rocket. Dignan has got their 75-year plan all mapped out in his notebook. The rain is the angels coming. You know what I mean? The rain is the angels coming. My valves have been destroyed by COVID. Mercury's in a recession, a trine to 9 with Eros. Mercury trine Chiron, using conversational abstraction to reveal vulnerabilities. Same with the moon joining Uranus. Not sure why I'm so outer directed, laying waste to establish values, replacing them with 5-year syllabus. Winter is a loser. However, we do have the potential to compromise. Sun is trying to be Mars. I'm catching up with the sun. It does this in 2 different ways. The rain stops being merciful and starts being threatening. We whiz past subtle homeopathic remedies, a way of giving back to my fans. That's you guys. The little fabulists, the disciples of the fab, the disciples of the fabulous. The rain is the angels coming. My valves have been destroyed by COVID. Mercury's in a recession, a trine to 9 with Eros. So a lot of this is kind of a transcription of astrology shit. This is probably Rick Levine. A trine to 9 with Eros. Mercury trine Chiron, using conversational abstraction to reveal vulnerabilities. Same with the moon joining Uranus. Not sure why I'm so outer directed, laying waste to establish values, replacing them with 5-year syllabus. Winter is a loser. However, we do have the potential to compromise. Sun is trying to be Mars. I'm catching up with the sun. It does this in 2 different ways. Let me maybe turn this motherfucker off. I don't want my audio to be all jacked because of that. Sun is trying to be Mars. I'm catching up with the sun. It does this in 2 different ways. The rain stops being merciful and starts being threatening. That's how it felt. The rain stops being merciful and starts being threatening. That's about where it changed, I'd say. August 3rd. The rain is the angels coming. We whiz past subtle homeopathic remedies, a way of giving back to my fans. See, those 2 phrases really don't have anything to do with each other. They just sound like they are the end. You know, I mean, Maybe I should put like bullet points or something, a dash for every new thought. Like I said, I don't like delineating it that much for people. I probably could if I really wanted to make it separate, but for me, I'm trying. I don't know. Maybe it looks better in my own handwriting. I'd love to print my books in my own handwriting. I'd love to just print my notebooks and just give them all away. I try. Once again, that's a word or a phrase that I try. It rhymes. It's so brief. I try. First day of the Empire of Drag. 3 minutes of arc. Saturn is dad. Energies being expressed in the media. Discipline ruins the party. Spicer's micro penis. Then I just remembered I needed to finish this ukulele easel suitcase LP, pocket sticker, wallet, auto, photo, mail it to them, sewing up your family, tabletop entropy, keep it attainable for art or trade. The lemonade seeps over 4x6 grayscale soaps, spiral opera, for whom it may concern, a day in the life of an aqueduct of freedom and life experience, a countervailing archive in an emergency, nudists at the river. August 6th, Tree Fictions. In the tiny flea market, jank relation, cry eagle. I'm your host for the hour. We are streaming live to a T in our detail. This year's effort is a fundraiser. Let's get high and listen to the Boston Poetry Marathon. Shitty commute. Challenges you like blasphemy. Regardless, standing in the rain inside myself, you are your own planet. The vacation tapes. They knew they were in an ancient place. It doesn't get any older than that. Make blood faster. No thanks to you, I'm seeing it again for the first time. Domain name. Staying put drove us nuts. To me, that's the poem of the year. That is 2020. Domain name. Staying put drove us nuts. That was my fucking experience. I don't know about you guys. Domain name. They're almost like one-liners or something, like. I like really short poems. You have all these little pieces of language that you want to give a home, and poetry feels like a place where you can realize that. Unlike movies or where you have to patch things into a greater this, if you have 2 lines, you're like, that's it. That's what it is. Staying put drove us nuts. It rhymes. That's what happened to me this year. Domain name, once again, that's almost like a palindrome. Main name. It's almost like the same word backward and forward. Once again, I'm scrambling, And then it's just a phrase, domain name. That could be a title of one of my episodes, domain name. with Frankly Fabulous. I was watching this guy Chris Hardwick on fucking At Midnight. I could do that guy's job. They should give me that guy's job right now. Frankly Fabulous. The merchandising rights. If this character ever takes off, I will make so much money just from licensing the character. August 8th, Deli Mementos. Deli Mementos. In your local branch of the Now. Thinking that you're leaving there too soon. Who were the undecided selves? I'm tired. The curtains passed out on the Xbox. Bachelorette party in Nashville. Zombie move-in day with family assist. There goes me being rude behind closed doors. That's when we get behind closed doors. That's when we get behind closed doors. Charlie Rich. The ultimate sad bastard, Charlie Rich. He's my spirit animal. In your local branch of the Now. Thinking that you're leaving there too soon. Who were the undecided selves? I'm tired. The curtains passed out on the Xbox. Bachelorette party in Nashville. Zombie move-in day with family assist. There goes me being rude behind closed doors. I don't know if anybody could read this but me and have it make any sense. Bachelorette party in Nashville. Max went to a bachelorette party in Nashville in August, which I thought was kind of nuts, but whatever. Zombie move-in day with family assist. Or you could read it because it's split here. A zombie move-in day with family assist being rude. There goes me behind closed doors. There's a couple poems in this that it's almost like a choose your own ending. They go off into their own little tributaries or feet of the mouth of the delta, the bottom of the piece. So you can choose your own ending, I guess. In your local branch of the Now. In your local branch of the Now. In your local, there might be a lot of shit that you don't get in this, but like the idea is if you hear that phrase, in your local branch of the Now, it's like, damn, that's kind of I don't know. That's I don't know. That's something for you to take home and think about in your local branch of the Now. Thinking that you're leaving there too soon. So that's about me wondering if I should move and this is in August. This was 4 months ago. Or 5 even. August, September, October, November, December. Could this be 5 months ago? Holy fucking Christ. It's 5 o'clock everywhere, baby. Smoking it, smoking it, smoking it. August 11th. Duration flickers. Duration flickers. There used to be a movie theater where you could eat and they would, they had pictures of beer and pizza and shit over on Bethel Road called Flickers. And their ad and their marquee in the paper, it had a picture of Laurel and Hardy with like a marquee with lights and shit, Flickers. And I just thought, oh my God, they had tables. It's a movie theater with fucking tables. It wasn't like rows of seats. It's like you order fucking beer and pizza and shit. Flickers. And I think that's what they called the movies. early on when they were, 16 frames per second or whatever. They'd flicker. So duration flickers, to me, that's like life or whatever. Duration flickers. You're getting both. You're getting, they're kind of oxymoronic. Flickering and duration are two different. But if you combine them, that's kind of what a movie does. It's the duration flicker. And I wanted that kind of droney, glam, exploding plastic inevitable sense. Duration flickers. Idea for a potato. This year's been all about potatoes. Sweet potatoes, I mean, my life is about potatoes. That's a karmic Irish thing. We're still living in the potato famine. Or I think it's a genetic compensation why I eat so many potatoes because of the potato famine. I just can't get enough of them. So I had an idea for a potato. I thought it was funny to have an idea for something that you can't really have an idea about. It is what it is. It's a potato. It's perfect. I mean, I guess you could make Mr. Potato Head. I guess that's an idea for a potato. Is it too soon to to start doing Trump impersonations? I hate to say it. I don't want to make any jokes till he's gone. But it was kind of fun to do Trump impersonation. I don't know. Is that fucked up? I guess it is. Forget I said anything. We'll edit that out. Move your hand out of the question. In the old age of our youth, generate talent. The possibility of birthing a new consciousness in the world. Hopefully it doesn't kill the matter. Karl Lagerfeld starts with loving oneself. I was raised in the blink of an eye. Tomorrow may be too late. The U.S. has to destroy itself so the world can live. That's the only way its power will diminish to the point of being sensible. Come from a country home, drain the weight. An early situation in Chillicothe with Dan Brown and Annex Research Library, The Pond. Everyone I come in contact with results in a lifetime of babies. Not by me, fecund energy. White ink figure on chair pale like revolved skin. A lot of my friends, everybody I know has had a fucking baby in the last 5 years. And it's my fault. I'm directly responsible. That's what that's about. Caitlin, Eric, Olivia, who else? Fucking Sarah's sister. The list goes on. That's frankly fabulous. Sexual power. I'm not impregnating anybody, but just being around them, I think, makes them so fertile, frankly. I think they just get extremely pregnant because of me. But what else can I say? I mean, it's that when you got that glow, your body, your mind, and soul, it's the power of elevation. August 13th, that's my ex's birthday. Active state of waiting, which, once again, active state of waiting. That's where we've been all fucking year. We're in an active state of waiting. I do want to just say one more time, white ink figure on chair pale, like revolved skin. I think that's good. And these are good. Now that I'm revisiting, I'm like, this is actually, I know what I'm doing, god damn it. August 13th, active state of waiting. Delivering phone books is a good way to learn a new town. Sizzling in all directions by these hates. Sargasso, kick me while I'm down. This landscape is on injury fire. What they did with it. Lawns and ugly clothes. The river's beauty distressed by cycling shorts. Relapsing to ancient coping strategies. The ends justify the ends. Delivering phone books is a good way to learn a new town. I think it's something my dad said because he would deliver phone books. He delivered them in LA. We did it here. You go around taking people to white pages and yellow pages. So you see every street. It's like being a mailman, sort of, except, it's heavy as fuck and you make your kids do it. Kick me. That was like, I felt like there was a kick me sign on me for a couple weeks. Down on the farm, kicked to the curb. So that's a one-liner, that's a couplet basically. Down on the farm is Bob Evans' slogan. Down on the farm, kicked to the curb. Similar cadence. That's how I feel. Kicked to the curb down on the farm. It's kind of a country song. Curb and farm kind of rhyme in a certain way. Career suicide. Include cue cards. Once again, this is my Johnny Carson fantasy. I'm committing career suicide by including cue cards. And these are sort of cue cards. My poems are essentially cue cards. For the monologue of my unfunny, rambling introspection. Stages of denial emails. My breakup in real time. And that was just kind of a funny idea I had because I noticed that I was like sending her emails like every couple days that were kind of like very indicative of where I was in the stages of denial. Like the first one, whatever, angry or, then bargaining, the next one was like bargaining. So I had my stages of denial emails to mark the, and the poems are kind of stages of denial emails in a way too. You can see the stages kind of step through their process. My breakup in real time. That's where we are. We're in real time here. Remember Real Player? That was like the first streaming thing. Real Player was you'd click something and you couldn't download it. If it was an MP3, it'd be like, we download like little fucking, we literally download sound bites of like actors' lines from movies. Like fucking Kindergarten Cop, fucking the Arnold Schwarzenegger soundboard. Remember on E-Bombs World or Pacino? It's not a tumor. You download and it literally you just download that. So you have that on your computer. We had all kind of sound bites from Monty Python, and it was hilarious just sitting there listening to them, But then Real Player, you could stream like, some radio thing, or there were sort of podcasts. I used to listen to Lance Storm. He had like a streaming show every week on Real Player, I think. It was like a wrestling radio show. That was like 2000, probably around 2000, 2001. And he'd get on and he'd talk about wrestling. He'd shoot, he'd talk about what was going on. And Tooth Destruction Olympics. I feel like I'm always in the Tooth Destruction Olympics. It was 6 months ago we were at Chateau Marmont having a drink in the bar, dropping Sarah off in her new life like a couple of dads. I'm pathetic and diminutive, but we're each on our own path. Thought I was really smoking it on Insta Live, but people seemed worried. I'm ashamed of my outburst, but my life is my great art, the spectacular drama and pain of its exquisitely designed failures and continuous instances of artful self-sabotage. You outgrow one to another, so they get everywhere but you. Live at the beginning. Free classes in Bill Zavatsky's basement. Bill not all tied in knots. Yesterday's outlaws. You know, a lot of times I change subjects. So I start off in kind of an emotional, this is about, yeah, last February we went to Chateau Marmont with Sarah and Greg, and we had a drink, and it did feel like we were dropping her off at college or something. It felt like we were her dads or something. And now look where we are. It's been almost a year since that. It's kind of hard to believe, but this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. You know, I'm still in the same place. Thought I was really smoking on an Insta Live, but people seemed worried. I had kind of an outburst where I was reading poetry and going nuts, and people were like calling me, like, "Are you okay?" And like, I never, you know, at no point this year did I feel like I was going to hurt myself. This is just like I say. I'm ashamed of my outburst, but my life is my great art. The spectacular drama in pain of its exquisitely designed failures and continuous instances of artful self-sabotage. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Maybe this is me just manifesting it by writing it down. Even when I write shit down, that's just about how I'm going to have success. That doesn't work. It's like, I don't know. This is what it is. I don't know. I'm not writing it down because I want it to happen. I'm observing that this is the pattern, you know? My life is my great art, the spectacular drama and pain of its exquisitely designed failures and continuous instances of artful self-sabotage. You outgrow one to another, so they get everywhere but you. Oh, no, you outgrow one to another, so they get everywhere, but you live at the beginning. Free classes in Bill Zavatsky's basement. Yesterday's outlaws. Bill not all tied in knots. I can't tell which one's the better ending, but I switched it when I was reading it before. You outgrow one to another, so they get everywhere, but you live at the beginning. Well, that's fucking true. Bill Zavatsky is a poet who teaches a free weekly workshop at the New York Public Library in Morningside Heights near Columbia University. And I would go there when I worked up at Columbia. And it was kind of like a writing workshop. I never brought in anything, but I'd sit there and he'd teach you about, you know, this or that. And I think he had a connection to Bill Nod. I mean, Bill Nod is kind of the ultimate loser. He made a whole career out of sort of kvetching about how he was an outsider and how nobody, you know, but everybody liked him and everybody did respect him and publish him. So that's the difference between me. I'm Bill Not all tied in knots. That's me. All right, well, I may get back on and read the rest in a little while. I'm going to roll another one and I got to pee. So I'm going to take the old computer off the toilet so I can pee. It's been a great tripod. This has been the bathroom show. I think it went great. I think this bathroom looks so great. Stay tuned for more Frankly Fabulous. Make sure you like and subscribe. This is High on Life. If you want a copy, send me your address and I will mail you a copy. It's 40 pages, so maybe if you send me $3 or something, pay for the printing supplies. And I'll read more. That was pretty good, though. I enjoyed it. Happy New Year. We covered a lot of ground. We'll see you soon, everybody. Surf's up.